Chapter 361. None of the geniuses were willing to fall behind, and they all cultivated diligently. Everyone knew that if they wanted to obtain more resources from the Purple Heaven sect in the future, they had to perform better than others at this time. The 11th to 20th years after entering the ancient Tao origin world were the highlight for Mu Ning and Yang Jiufeng. The two of them passed the third stage of the sky-piercing mountain. On the 21st year, Ji Wei broke through the fifth stage and took back the limelight. At the same time, Jiang Xi also confirmed a problem during this year. He had sworn an oath to his master, Daoist Ge, that he would return the Purple Heaven Sword Manual to the Purple Heaven sect within 100 years. This 100 years referred to the time he had experienced, and it was not the normal 100 years of the original universe. After the worry in his heart was resolved, Jiang Xi was completely relieved. In the next 21 to 30 years, Quang Lang, Mo Hong, Bloodchild, Li Xianxian, Li Linger, and Feng Lu all passed the third stage. While everyone was breaking through one after another, Riverward remained silent and did not make any movements. He did not challenge the Heavenspan mountain even once. Although everyone was a little speechless, they were gradually getting used to Jiang Xi's style. In the blink of an eye, there was only a month left. The 30 years of cultivation in the ancient Tao origin world would end. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the stone bed in the stone house, seemingly immersed in cultivation. In reality, most of his attention was on his clone on the first moon of Earth. This state had been going on for almost a month. Suddenly, 3 types of Taos of heaven and earth appeared on Jiang Xi's body. The 3 types of Taos circulated in a mysterious way and gradually merged into one. After this process was completed, his aura suddenly increased by several times. Jiang Xi opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. "I've finally succeeded." Then, a trace of helplessness flashed through his eyes. As expected, according to Master, each Tao technique is a different path. The more Tao techniques one comprehends, the more paths one can walk at the same time. If one wants to comprehend new Tao techniques, the difficulty will increase tenfold. The master he was referring to was naturally the Wine Sword Immortal. In Jiang Xi's opinion, he had deduced the Sword Tao in the first year after entering the ancient Tao origin world. The difficulty of deducing the path of Gale should be much lower. However, he never thought that the difficulty of the deduction was actually greater than the Sword Tao. In addition, the Gale path did not have an inheritance altar as a reference, so the deduction progress was even slower. Jiang Xi did not understand. The Gale Tao was a rare Tao technique. Its difficulty should be lower than other special Tao techniques. Later on, he became the disciple of the Wine Sword Immortal. It was only through this master that he learned that the Wine Sword Immortal had become a disciple of the Wine Sword Immortal. It turned out that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to reach a high level of attainment when cultivating multiple Daoist techniques. Especially when one's Tao technique realm was higher, the more difficult it would be to walk the path of multiple Tao techniques. Humans only had 2 legs. Walking 2 paths at the same time was already very difficult, let alone walking 3 or more paths at the same time. In the end, the Wine Sword Immortal also suggested that he focus on Sword Tao. Jiang Xi only listened to half of this suggestion. While focusing on the Sword Tao, he continued to deduce the Gale Tao. He couldn't just say, "I have the EXP panel. No matter how many paths there are, as long as I can step on them, I can walk through them, right?" Thus, he silently deduced, not caring about the success or failure of the other geniuses. Finally, he successfully deduced the Gale Tao a month ago. The third Tao of heaven and earth. It's indeed very difficult. The ancient Tao source world is like the birth of heaven and earth. The Tao of heaven and earth is not stable, so it's easier to cultivate Tao techniques compared to the original universe. But even in such an environment, it still took me so many years to deduce the Gale Tao successfully. If I were in the original universe, it would probably take me at least 100 years to deduce the third Gale Tao. Fortunately, his efforts were not wasted. When he used his clone to refine the spiritual fruit and push the Gale Tao to perfection, the Tao fusion technique underwent a change. Tao technique, Gale Tao, 10th tier, 50,000,000,050,000,000,000. Secret technique, Dao fusion technique, sword Dao, fire Dao, gale Dao, 30 amplitude 3. After the 3 Daos of heaven and earth have completely fused, my spiritual energy amplitude has triple. If that's the case, my spiritual energy amplitude can reach a maximum of 6,000 times. I'll comprehend it carefully and prepare to challenge the Skyspan mountain. Before leaving the ancient Dao source world, I'll try to comprehend it one last time at the Azure Lotus altar. It was not only the improvement of his Dao technique. In the past 20 years, Jiang Xi had used up 3 chances at the inheritance altar. He had used the Azure Lotus altar to deduce and completely comprehended the second sword technique of the melody of 10,000 swords. His ability to use the sword Dao had greatly improved. Therefore, before leaving, he wanted to comprehend it one more time to further improve his use of the sword Dao. New Moon Era 225, November 11th. Original Universe, Milky Way Galaxy, Planet Dongyuan, Mountain Sea Star Trade Headquarters. This day was an important day for the Mountain Sea Star trade. Yang Fei, a late-stage nascent soul disciple from the Purple Heaven sect's First Heaven, carried out a complete inspection of the Mountain Sea Star trade's assets under the witness of the omniscient eye. Congratulations, junior sister Jiang. The Mountain Sea Star trade's assets have reached 100,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. According to the rules, the Purple Heaven sect's business-type disciples can run a star trade group. If the assets reach 100,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals, they can enter the Purple Heaven sect's First Heaven to cultivate. Yang Fei first said this formally, then smiled and said, "Junior sister Jiang, I will submit the inspection results later. Then we will really be fellow disciples. Then I hope senior sister Yang can take care of me in the future." Jiang Dudu smiled. "Junior sister Jiang, you must be joking. With senior brother Jiang Xi's status in the sect, I hope you can help me in the future." Yang Fei shook her head. The news that Jiang Xi had become the disciple of the Wine Sword Immortal had already spread in the 9th heaven of the Purple Heaven sect. As for the disciples in the first 4 heavens, other than a few experienced and powerful disciples, the rest were all extremely envious. However, putting aside her relationship with Jiang Xi, Yang Fei also admired Jiang Dudu. She had thought that after the Mountain Sea Star trade was merged into the Purple Heaven sect, she would borrow Jiang Xi's name. It would take Jiang Dudu about 1,000 years to operate the Mountain Sea Star trade to 100,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Unexpectedly, Jiang Dudu achieved this goal in less than 100 years. Even with the excellent quality of the Mountain Sea Star artifact as a foundation, the fact that Jiang Dudu was able to expand the Mountain Sea Star artifact to this extent in such a short period of time was a testament to her abilities. "Junior sister Jiang, when are you going to go to the Purple Heaven sect?" Yang Fei asked again. "There are still some things to deal with. Let's go in a month," Jiang Dudu said with a smile. "Okay, I will wait for you for a month. Thank you. I will ask Yushin to accompany you around the Milky Way galaxy." Although the two had only met a few times, they were like sisters who had not seen each other for many years and quickly became close. This was partly because Yang Fei deliberately made friends with her, and partly because Jiang Dudu had grown up for so many years and had already understood the ways of the world. After when Yushin left with Yang Fei, Jiang Dudu stretched lazily as if a burden had been lifted from her shoulders, revealing her graceful figure. Chapter 362. Over 100 years had passed, and the bean sprout who used to roam the streets had become slender and elegant. However, in front of outsiders, Jiang Dudu had always remained aloof. Especially in the past few years when Jiang Xi wasn't around, she rarely smiled. "Congratulations, Master. You've finally gotten what you wanted." Yin Tianxing, who was the size of a thumb, appeared on Jiang Dudu's shoulder. "It's still early. The First Heaven and the Third Heaven of the Purple Heaven sect are 2 different worlds." Jiang Dudu's expression was calm. "With Master's talent, it's only a matter of time before you enter the Third Heaven," Yin Tianxing said with a smile. Jiang Dudu smiled and asked, "But you, my brother's master died because of you. Are you afraid now that he's in the Purple Heaven sect?" "What's there to be afraid of? This old servant has a personal grudge with Daoist GE. It's not a grudge between the human race and the ghost race. Besides, I'm only a remnant spirit now. I can't catch the attention of those immortal Dao experts. Yin Tiansheng had a smile on his face, but his tone was bitter. Jiang Dudu didn't say anything else. She looked into the starry sky as if there was a world hidden in her eyes. Nine Heavens City, the teleportation platform from the original universe to the ancient Dao origin world. The grey-robed elder guarding this place suddenly opened his eyes. In the next moment, 3 figures appeared at the same time. 2 of them were immortal Yi Liang and immortal Chu He. The one in the lead was true monarch Iron Mountain in blood-red battle armor. When the grey-robed elder saw them clearly, he said in surprise, "Iron Mountain, you came personally? I happened to be free, so I brought those little guys back." True monarch Iron Mountain nodded lightly. "This year's youngsters are pretty good. You're really lucky," the grey-robed elder said with a smile. "Haha, it's my turn to be lucky." True monarch Iron Mountain laughed and said a few more words to the grey-robed elder before leaving with immortal Yi Liang and immortal Chu He. The grey-robed elder looked at them and shook his head. That lucky guy. After cultivating in the ancient Dao origin world for 30 years, many of the youngsters in this year's 9 Regions Genius Tournament had shown signs of immortal potential. It could be said to be the strongest in 5 million years. True Lord Iron Mountain also had a mansion in 9 Firmament City. He brought immortal Yi Liang and immortal Chu He to his palace. After taking their seats, True Lord Iron Mountain sat at the top of the hall and asked, "Iliang, you know the situation of those young people the best. Tell me." Immortal Iliang said respectfully, "Currently, Jiwei has passed the 5th stage of Mount Tongtian. Mu Ning, Yang Jiufeng, Jiang Ci, and Quang Lang are all at the 3rd stage. Mo Hong, Li Xianxian, Lin Ling and Feng Lu are all in the 2nd stage. The others." He recounted everyone's situation in detail. True Lord Iron Mountain nodded in satisfaction. Under normal circumstances, the young cultivators who participated in the 9 Zones Genius Tournament were all very strong. After cultivating in the ancient Dao origin world for 30 years, it would be considered not bad if 2 or 3 of them could pass the 3rd stage of the Skyspan Mountain. This time, not only did someone pass the 5th stage, there were even 4 people who passed the 3rd stage. If these geniuses were to transcend their tribulation and become immortals in the future, they would have a chance to become powerhouses among tribulation transcenders with a little bit of training. At that time, his Iron Mountain lineage's overall strength in the Dao Alliance's heavenly court would increase by a lot. In addition, Lord Iron Mountain also noticed a problem. He asked doubtfully, with some doubt, "I remember that 20 years ago, Jiang Ci passed the 3rd stage of the Skyspan Mountain and became the disciple of the Wine Sword Immortal, Zhong Li. Why hasn't there been any change in the past 20 years? If it was in the original universe, it would be understandable if he hadn't made any progress in 20 years. But now, he had cultivated in the ancient Dao origin world for 20 years and hadn't made any progress at all. Moreover, the Wine Sword Immortal wasn't inferior to him, a Dao Immortal. With such an expert guiding his cultivation, it was reasonable to say that Jiang Ci should have made more progress. Immortal Iliang and Immortal Chu He looked at each other and laughed. "True Lord, Jiang Ci's style is actually like this. In the 9 Zones Genius Tournament and the Skyspan Mountain 20 years ago, he's always been like this. He likes to hide his strength. He's well prepared." Immortal Iliang pondered for a while before finding the right words. Then, he briefly described what Jiang Ci had done. True Lord Iron Mountain's interest was piqued. "Oh, then I'd like to see what he's been accumulating for the past 20 years. Then, he asked Immortal Iliang to send a message to everyone to meet him. Soon, the remaining 2,700 geniuses all arrived at True Lord Iron Mountain's palace. "Greetings, True Lord Iron Mountain." Everyone bowed in unison. True Lord Iron Mountain was expressionless as a powerful aura spread out. "I'm very disappointed. The ancient Dao origin world is the safest place on your path of cultivation, but almost 1,000 of you have died." The expressions of the geniuses changed under this powerful aura. Even the stronger geniuses like Jiang Xi and Ji Wei found it difficult to breathe. Too powerful. Now, there's still a month left. Those who are going to challenge the Skyspan Mountain and those who haven't used the opportunity to comprehend the inheritance altar should use it quickly. It won't be so easy to come to the ancient Tao origin world in the future, True Lord Iron Mountain said. These two short sentences caused the geniuses to fall silent and quickly disperse. Some returned to the Skyspan Mountain and River diagram to challenge the Skyspan Mountain again. Some went to the inheritance altar to comprehend the ancient Tao origin world first before going to the Skyspan Mountain. Meanwhile, Jiang Xi returned to his stone house and continued to comprehend the changes after the three Taos of heaven and earth merged. He received a message from Immortal Iliang before he had time to check it out, so he could only rush to True Lord Iron Mountain's place. After spending half a day to comprehend, Jiang Xi had a rough understanding of his new strength. After adding the Gale Tao, not only has my spiritual energy multiplied, but the Gale Tao also has the Wind Tao origin world. The Tao fusion technique has also gained some wind transformations, making it faster and sharper. In addition, I've completely comprehended the second sword art of the melody of 10,000 swords. My current strength should be able to improve greatly on the Skyspan Mountain, right? Jiang Xi smiled and took out his communication pearl, preparing to challenge the Skyspan Mountain. However, before he could enter the Skyspan Mountain and River diagram, he received a message on his communication pearl. Mu Ning just passed the fourth trial. Jiang Xi was slightly taken aback. Then, his eyes narrowed. He's starting to show his strength. Since that's the case, let's go challenge the Skyspan Mountain now. Mu Ning's improvement also ignited Jiang Xi's fighting spirit. The Skyspan Mountain and River diagram, the continent where the 44 Skyspan Mountains were located. Jiang Xi had just entered when he discovered that over 1,000 people had already gathered here. They were all waiting in line to challenge the Skyspan Mountain. Hey, Jiang Xi, Mu Ning just passed the fourth trial, and you're already here. He'll definitely say that you're deliberately causing trouble for him, Yang Jiufeng said with a smile. I can't let him be the only one in the limelight, Jiang Xi joked. Soon, Mu Ning's figure flew down from the myriad Skyspan Mountain. He hadn't passed the fifth trial. Sure enough, when he saw Jiang Xi, he immediately shouted, Jiang Xi, you're deliberately causing trouble for me. Can't you come back a few days later? Jiang Xi and Yang Jiufeng immediately burst into laughter. Chapter 363. Just as they were getting excited, whoosh, another figure appeared. Everyone looked over. It was a young man with a strand of white hair on his forehead. It was Ji Wei. He had also received the news that Mu Ning had passed the fourth level. However, Ji Wei's gaze fell on Jiang Xi, and he took the initiative to ask a question. Jiang Xi, are you confident that you can pass the fifth level? Maybe. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. Ji Wei fell silent again. At this moment, the voice of the mountain guardian sounded. The Green Lotus sky-piercing mountain is free. Those who want to challenge it, hurry up. Upon hearing this, Jiang Xi immediately flew out and went straight to the Green Lotus sky-piercing mountain. I want to see how many things this guy has hidden for 20 years. Mu Ning muttered. Although Ji Wei was expressionless, the look in his eyes had clearly changed. The other geniuses also looked at Jiang Xi's figure and made guesses. After all, Jiang Xi had not challenged the sky-piercing mountain for 20 years. In the fourth level of the Green Lotus sky-piercing mountain, in the illusion, the gatekeeper, who was dressed in battle armor and carried a long sword on his back, actually revealed a rare smile when he saw Riverward. You haven't been here for a long time. Last time, you suffered a crushing defeat. This time, if you don't have a big breakthrough, you won't be able to pass this level. Let's play one round first. Jiang Xi chuckled. He looked very calm on the surface, but his fighting spirit was rising. It was time to go all out. Whoosh! The slaughtering shadow sword was unsheathed, and sword light whistled like a blooming green lotus. Sword chi that blotted out the sky shot out. This time, the sword chi was not only mixed with the dark red Li fire sword shadow, but also the swiftness and fierceness of the wind. Suddenly, sword chi filled the sky and swept through the entire space. Whoosh! The fusion of 3 Taos of heaven and earth. The gatekeeper was also shocked. Under normal circumstances, only those tribulation transcender and Tao immortal powerhouses who had stagnated in their cultivation would think of taking the second or third path. It was very rare for cultivators who had not yet become immortals to take multiple paths and be able to complete the fusion of 2 Taos of heaven and earth, as for someone like Jiang Ci, who had reached the level of the Tao of heaven and earth in all 3 paths and was able to fuse them together to execute the Tao fusion technique. It was simply rare to see someone like him in a million years. It was common knowledge that the more Tao arts one cultivated, the harder it would be to cultivate in the future. However, the gatekeeper would not relax his attack just because he was shocked. He snorted coldly, and his soaring sword intent swept out. "You want to use this technique to get past me? Don't even think about it." Boom! Boom! The sword light surged, bursting with dazzling and blazing light. Terrifying cracks appeared in the space as the two of them exchanged blows. It was as if the space was about to collapse. However, in terms of absolute strength, the gatekeeper was still at a disadvantage. In this round, his Tao power was only equivalent to 4,600 times the spiritual energy amplitude. In comparison, Jiang Ci's spiritual energy amplitude could reach 6,000 times. On top of that, after mastering the second sword technique of the tune of 10,000 swords, his combat skills were no longer the same as before. Therefore, the gatekeeper was only able to block Jiang Ci's first wave of attacks. In the second round, he was cut down by the sword. Stage 4, passed. When the news spread, everyone's shock was not as strong as imagined. Because Jiang Ci had already passed the third stage 20 years ago. If he could not even pass the fourth stage this time, it would be too ridiculous. Now, everyone was waiting to see if Jiang Ci could pass the fifth stage. If he could, it would really be heaven-defying. Because the first place of the 9 Regions Genius Tournament, Ji Wei, was also at the 5th stage. The Void Universe Sky-Piercing Mountain is also empty. Those who want to challenge it, hurry up and go. The voice of the gatekeeper sounded. Everyone's eyes gathered on Ji Wei. Ji Wei was expressionless. He moved his feet lightly and flashed out. He would not let anyone shake his first place. This is great. The limelight has been stolen by these two. Mu Ning grabbed the bamboo flute and knocked on his straw hat. Half an hour later, the gatekeeper suddenly laughed. Jiang Ci has passed the 5th stage. Whoosh! The geniuses immediately became lively. This time, everyone was really shocked. At the 5th stage of the sky-piercing mountain, Jiang Ci's talent and strength were fully deserving of the 2nd place this time. Why was he not first? Because Ji Wei had passed the 5th stage 10 years ago. Naturally, he was first. Just as everyone was discussing this matter, the gatekeeper's dignified face was filled with a smile. Ji Wei has passed the 6th stage. The platform in front of the sky-piercing mountain was strangely quiet. The geniuses all fell into silence. The 6th stage. At this time, there was only a deep pressure in everyone's heart. Jiang Ci and Ji Wei were no longer on the same level as them. The other geniuses in the top 10 had their eyes flickering. They were greatly stimulated. Especially the other 2 Purple Heaven Sect 4th layer disciples, Yang Jiufeng and Kuang Lang. Yang Jiufeng was slightly better. She was lively by nature. She only smiled bitterly for a moment before her emotions returned to normal. Kuang Lang was originally a domineering person. With such a big gap between him and his competitors, he did not feel good. However, this time, Kuang Lang did not have a big emotional reaction. He was very calm. He had already accepted this reality. However, he would not give up. The road of cultivation was still long. He would catch up sooner or later. He would not give up. Next, the geniuses' challenges came to an end. Basically, everyone had passed the 1st stage. As for the top 360 geniuses, as long as they were still alive, they had passed the 2nd stage. After that, only the top 10 geniuses had passed the 3rd stage. The remaining geniuses, the 4th stage, Mu Ning. The 5th stage, Jiang Ci. The sixth stage, Ji Wei. Inside True Monarch Iron Mountain's palace. The three immortals had also received the results of everyone's challenge. Congratulations, True Monarch. Immortal Yi Liang and Immortal Chu He congratulated him in unison. True Monarch Iron Mountain, who had always been dignified, also let out a carefree laugh. It could be expected that Ji Wei, Jiang Ci, and Mu Ning would all become powerhouses among tribulation transcenders in the future as long as nothing unexpected happened. If they were lucky, they might even become Great Tao Immortal. If they became tribulation transcenders, they would naturally be his subordinates. If they became Great Tao Immortals, they would become true monarchs. They would be on the same level as him, and would not be inferior to him. However, at that time, their relationship would definitely be closer than that of other true monarchs. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. Ji Wei walks the path of time and space, and he has already stepped onto the Great Tao. Coupled with the fusion of time and space, it is reasonable for him to pass the sixth stage. Mu Ning is also at the Great Tao level, and he specializes in the Great Tao of life. He has walked further than Ji Wei's Great Tao. What is this Jiang Ci relying on? He has not stepped onto the Great Tao, but instead walked three Great Taos of heaven and earth at the same time. It is really rare. After thinking for a while, he shook his head. Weren't geniuses like this? It was beyond the expectations of ordinary people. Three people, three different cultivation directions. At present, it seemed that Ji Wei was a little ahead. However, in the eyes of True Monarch Iron Mountain, Jiang Ci was also a genius worth looking forward to. This was because Ji Wei had already revealed a talent that was rarely seen in a million years. In contrast, Jiang Ci's sudden breakthrough was a complete surprise. Chapter 364. After failing the sixth stage, Jiang Ci didn't continue trying and left the sky-piercing mountain river diagram. He cultivated in the stone house for 3 days. After the 3 battles in the sky-piercing mountain, he gained a lot of battle insights and needed to organize them. Only by summarizing and combining actual battle and theory could he improve faster. After doing all that, Jiang Ci went to the Azure Lotus altar and cultivated for 20 days, using up the 2 chances he just obtained. Because just like True Monarch Iron Mountain said, if he didn't use it now, he didn't know when he would come to the ancient Tao source world again. Using the Azure Lotus altar, he used the Purple Firmament Sword Manual, Sword Tao, and Melody of 10,000 Swords to deduce together. Combined with the battle insights from the sky-piercing mountain, his use of the Sword Tao improved a lot after 20 days. Especially the third sword technique of the Melody of 10,000 Swords, he already had a rough idea. Presumably, if he continued to deduce with the experience panel, he would soon be able to fully grasp it. The 3 sword techniques of the Melody of 10,000 Swords corresponded to the first 3 transformations of the Azure Lotus Sword Tao, 1 Azure Lotus, 4 Azure Lotus, and 100 Azure Lotus. Once he fully grasped the third sword technique, his strength would definitely rise to another level. 9 Firmament City, Wine Sword Immortals Palace. Jiang Ci spent the last 10 days before leaving the ancient Tao source world. Listening to the teachings of his master, Wine Sword Immortal, was one thing. Another thing was that he didn't know when he would come to the ancient Tao source world again after leaving this time, so he naturally wanted to accompany his master. In Jiang Ci's heart, Daoist Ge and the Wine Sword Immortal, these 2 masters, had completely different styles. But they were both dedicated to their disciples and taught them everything. Before Daoist Ge died, he directly passed his inheritance memories to him. And the Wine Sword Immortal, in the 20 years after he became his master, carefully taught him about various aspects of cultivation. In the last 10 days, the Wine Sword Immortal even told him many things. He provided many constructive suggestions for his future development. Soon, it was time to leave the ancient Tao source world. Master, I'm leaving. Jiang Ci knelt on the ground. As Sword Immortals, there's no need for us to go through such complicated formalities. We can just do as we please. Wine Sword Immortal laughed out loud. River Word, on the other hand, bowed respectfully. Even though the Wine Sword Immortal had lived for nearly 100,000 years, his heart was inexplicably moved. because he had entrusted too many things to Jiang Ci. Jiang Ci, since we are parting, I have a request for you. The Wine Sword Immortal said seriously. Master, please speak. Wine Sword Immortal said, live on. Jiang Ci was startled for a moment. He thought that the Wine Sword Immortal had some requirements for his cultivation. Unexpectedly, there were only 3 simple words. But from these 3 words, one could feel the Wine Sword Immortal's concern for him. This disciple will remember. Jiang Ci took a deep breath. All right, you guys are about to gather. Hurry up and go. Wine Sword Immortal laughed. Jiang Ci nodded gently, then turned and left. In the empty hall, the Wine Sword Immortal stood there quietly. After a long time, he suddenly grabbed the wine gourd and drank a lot of wine. Immortal Ping walked out of the side hall and sighed. Big brother Zhongli, since you can't bear to part with him, you can apply to return to the sect to cultivate. This way, Jiang Ci's path in the sect will be smoother. The Wine Sword Immortal shook his head and smiled. The growth of young people still needs more tempering. Don't worry, this little guy is smart and has hidden a lot of things. Jiang Ci left with worry in his heart. Although the Wine Sword Immortal didn't reveal the problem of his lifespan to him, he had checked the information of the Wine Sword Immortal a long time ago. His master was a 9 Tribulation Sword Immortal who had lived for nearly 100,000 years. In other words, the Wine Sword Immortal's lifespan was about to come to an end unless he could break through and become a great Dao Immortal. I don't know what happened, but with Master's strength, he should have been able to become a great Dao Immortal. Jiang Ci shook his head and hid his worry in the bottom of his heart. He still wasn't strong enough. It was very difficult for him to come into contact with the secrets of the Tribulation Transcender and Great Dao Immortal levels. 9 Heavens City, the teleportation platform from the original universe to the ancient Dao origin world. True Monarch Iron Mountain stood with his hands behind his back, while Immortal Yi Liang and Immortal Chu he stood behind him. More than 2,700 geniuses were standing in an orderly manner. The cultivation in the ancient Dao origin world is over. There are only 3 people whose performance satisfied me the most: Ji Wei, Jiang Ci, and Mu Ning. True Monarch Iron Mountain's hoarse voice sounded. Instantly, the gazes of the geniuses gathered on the 3 people at the front. Everyone had complicated expressions. Some were disappointed, some were envious, some were jealous, but most of them were filled with fighting spirit. Ji Wei, Jiang Ci, and Mu Ning. In many people's eyes, Jiang Ci was actually more monstrous than the other 2. This was because Jiang Ci's growth was too fast. Ji Wei and Mu Ning's talent and strength had already been displayed in the 9 Regions Genius Tournament. In comparison, although Jiang Ci was in the top 10 at that time, he was clearly weaker than Ji Wei and Mu Ning. Moreover, Jiang Ci's master was only a Tribulation Transcender, while Ji Wei and Mu Ning's masters were Dao Immortals. 30 years had passed, and Jiang Ci had risen step by step. He had surpassed Mu Ning and was approaching Ji Wei. In the future, how far could Jiang Ci go on the road of cultivation? No one had a definite answer. However, no one dared to underestimate Jiang Ci now. True Monarch Iron Mountain continued, the 30 years in the ancient Dao origin world was only the first stage of your cultivation in the Purple Heaven sect. Resources are earned by one's own efforts. I hope that after arriving at the Purple Heaven sect, you can continue to work hard and perform even better. Cultivation has no limits. How far you can go in the future is not only related to your talent, but also how much effort you can put in. Now, follow me back to the Purple Heaven sect. The geniuses became excited once again. As disciples of the Purple Heaven sect, they could finally cultivate in the Purple Heaven sect. Jiang Ci had a deep look in his eyes. He had thought about more than the others. Strictly speaking, he was already a disciple of the Purple Heaven sect after he became Daoist Ji's disciple. Now, he really had to go to the Purple Heaven sect. Where would he go, and what would he experience? His sharp intuition told him that Daoist Ji's mission was not that simple. The Dao Alliance's 3 gates and 6 sects, the Daoist Gate, the Buddhist Gate, and the Sword Gate, were detached from worldly affairs. The Purple Heaven sect was the true ruler of the entire Tao Alliance and the entire human race in the universe. After all, even the master of the Tao Alliance's heavenly court came from the Purple Heaven sect. One could imagine how powerful the Purple Heaven sect was. The Purple Heaven Sword Manual was named after the Purple Heaven sect. Its importance was self-evident. However, Daoist Ge, a Tao integration expert, had mastered one of the most important inheritances of the Purple Heaven sect. Was this a joke? Looks like I have to keep a low profile when I reach the Purple Heaven sect. I can only secretly look for opportunities. Jiang Ci carried these doubts, caution, and worry in his heart as he followed the three immortals. First, they teleported back to the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court's Tao Origin Hall through the Universe Passage. Then, they teleported directly to the Purple Heaven sect's headquarters through the Southern Heavenly Gates teleportation platform. They had finally arrived. The geniuses were once again stunned by the scene before them. Chapter 365. As soon as the 2,700 geniuses appeared on the teleportation platform of the Purple Heaven sect, they were all stunned. The headquarters of the Purple Heaven sect was naturally not something that a peak immortal Tao sect could compare to. However, what they didn't expect was that this was also a continent in space. It was so vast that one couldn't see the end of it. In terms of scale, it was comparable to the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court. The only difference was that the continent of the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court had countless immortal mountains, immortal islands, and palaces. On the other hand, the Purple Heaven sect only had 9 enormous floating islands. They were layered upon layers, and they were surrounded by 5-colored clouds. It was like a paradise. Right now, the teleportation platform they were on seemed to be tens of thousands of square kilometers in size. However, compared to the 9 floating islands, it was nothing. While everyone was still in shock, True Monarch Iron Mountain said in a low voice, "Iliang, Chuha, take them to their respective heavens." Then, he disappeared from the teleportation platform. Immortal Iliang and Immortal Chuha glanced at the youths who were looking around, then exchanged a glance and chuckled. Then, Immortal Iliang said, "The continent below is slightly smaller than the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court's Heavenly Court continent. The largest one has a diameter of 9 billion light-years. It is where the outer disciples of the Purple Heaven sect cultivate. These 9 enormous floating islands are the 9 great heavens. The first 4 heavens are where the core disciples cultivate. Each of them contains a major world. 9 billion light-years. That was a little too small. The geniuses were all flabbergasted. Now, the disciples of the first heavens will follow Immortal Chuha. The disciples of the second and third heavens will follow me." Immortal Iliang chuckled. The 2,700 geniuses quickly split up according to their respective heavens. The first heavens were the most numerous, followed by the second heavens. The third and fourth heavens were only the top 10. Everyone would be teleported to the first 4 floating islands in the sky through the teleportation platform in batches. Immortal Chuha left with the first heavens, which had the most people. Then, Immortal Iliang left with the fourth heavens, Ji Wei, Yang Jiufeng, and Kuang Lang. As for the several hundred second and third heavens geniuses, they had to wait for Immortal Iliang's return because the heavenly layer world was very big. The 2 immortals had to send these geniuses to their respective caves one by one. Before leaving, Yang Jiufeng waved at Mu Ning and Jiang Ci. "Mu Ning, Jiang Ci, don't forget to keep in touch." Although she was lively by nature, the only people she was close to were Mu Ning and Jiang Ci. Of course, Jiang Ci was incidental. Mu Ning tilted her head and waved her flute. Jiang Ci only smiled and nodded. He knew that the other party was targeting Mu Ning. "I wonder what the world of the third heaven is like?" Mu Ning asked curiously beside Jiang Ci. He was also a disciple of the third heaven. "Just now, the immortal said that it's a great world," Jiang Ci said with a smile. In Daoist Ge's inherited memories, there was a simple description of the 9 heavens of Purple Heaven sect, but it was not detailed. Jiang Ci had no idea what was going on inside. Mu Ning kept making guesses, and Jiang Ci would add on occasionally. "No matter what the environment is inside, I'll definitely plant a willow tree in front of the door and dig a pond. Mu Ning calculated carefully. Jiang Xi smiled and was about to speak when he suddenly sensed something. He turned around abruptly and shuddered. Brother. A familiar voice that seemed to penetrate deep into his soul reached Jiang Xi's ears. Jiang Dudu's graceful figure appeared on the other side of the teleportation platform. She, who had always maintained a cold demeanor in front of others, was now smiling like a blooming flower. Jiang Xi was instantly dumbfounded. The world seemed to have quieted down. The two of them only had eyes for each other. They had really been separated for a long time this time. Jiang Xi had been separated for 30 years, while Jiang Dudu had been separated for 108 years. Jiang Dudu's appearance also caused the other geniuses on the teleportation platform to become lively. Since the two immortals, Yi Liang and Chu He, had temporarily left, they could finally relax. Jiang Xi, you actually have a younger sister, Mu Ning exclaimed. Why is your sister also a disciple of the Purple Firmament sect? Mo Hong asked. This is ridiculous. Your sister's talent is also so strong. The other geniuses who were on good terms with him all teased him. Jiang Xi smiled proudly and appeared in front of Jiang Dudu in a flash. Are you surprised? Jiang Dudu asked. Yes, I'm happy. Jiang Xi nodded with a smile. But before he could say anything, two more figures appeared on the teleportation platform. The aura of an immortal Dao powerhouse suddenly spread out and enveloped the hundreds of geniuses in the second and third firmament. The powerful aura caused everyone's faces to turn pale as they resisted with all their might. It gave them the feeling that if they didn't resist, they would only be waiting for death. Jiang Xi also hurriedly spread out his spiritual power and Dao arts to protect himself and Jiang Dudu. At the same time, he was puzzled. What was this? Were they trying to intimidate them while immortal Yi Liang and immortal Chu He were not here? Were immortal Dao powerhouses that bored? One of the two figures could be seen, one was tall and the other short. The tall one was a middle-aged man with a stiff face and wore a purple daoist robe. The short man had a strange face and held a compass in his hand. While the hundreds of geniuses were resisting with all their might, some were even at a loss. The short immortal with the compass glanced at the compass, then raised his head and pointed. It's him. He was pointing in the direction of Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu. Jiang Xi's expression changed drastically. The stiff-faced immortal in the purple daoist robe appeared in front of the two of them as if he had teleported. You've learned the Purple Firmament Dao without permission. Die. He spoke in a tone as if he was passing judgment. He stood high above and grabbed at Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi wanted to move, but under the restraints of the immortal Dao powerhouse, he could not move at all. He could not even change his expression. However, at that moment, an undetectable cold light flashed across Jiang Dudu's body. She broke free of the restraints and stood in front of Jiang Xi. Don't you dare hurt my brother. Jiang Xi's eyes were filled with anxiety and despair. He wanted Jiang Dudu to dodge. His heart was filled with bitterness. He was really going to die this time. Stop. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. Another middle-aged woman appeared on the teleportation platform. She had an ordinary face, but there was a galaxy of stars in her eyes. The stiff-faced immortal snorted coldly and continued to grab at Jiang Xi. The female immortal wanted to stop him, but she was too slow. At that critical moment, immortal Yi Liang appeared on the teleportation platform. He had just returned after sending off Ji Wei, Yang Jiufeng, and Quang Lang. How dare you! Immortal Yi Liang was enraged when he saw this. He slammed his palm down. The tall and short immortals did not dare to be careless. They immediately raised their hands to block. The female immortal took advantage of this opportunity to appear in front of Jiang Xi and protect Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu. Chapter 366. Ancient Dao Origin World, Nine Heavens City, Wine Sword Immortal's Palace. Wine Sword Immortal held his communication bead, and his expression changed. Immortal Ping asked, "What's wrong?" Something happened to Jiang Xi. He just went to Purple Heaven sect. What could have happened? Immortal Ping was even more confused. I'll explain to you when I come back. I'm going to meet Tao Lord Nine Heavens now and ask for his decree. Wine Sword Immortal's expression was solemn, and he no longer had his usual carefree attitude as he flew out of the palace. Immortal Ping was shocked by Wine Sword Immortal's words. What could alarm Tao Lord Nine Heavens? Wu Yi, why did you attack a new disciple? Immortal Yi Liang asked with a cold expression. The Purple Heaven Sword Manual. Immortal Wu Yi only said 2 words. You mean? Immortal Yi Liang's expression changed greatly. The remaining 300 or so geniuses on the Purple Heaven sect's teleportation platform were still in shock. They were somewhat confused when they heard the conversation between Immortal Yi Liang and Immortal Wu Yi. The Purple Heaven Sword Manual? What did it have to do with Jiang Ci? The Purple Heaven Sword Manual has been lost for nearly 10,000 years. Why are you so sure that it's with Jiang Ci? Immortal Yi Liang was clearly shocked. 130 years ago, Yu Chong found out through Ji Ming's inheritance that the Purple Heaven Sword Manual was with this batch of geniuses. He confirmed it again just now, and it's with this disciple. Immortal Wu Yi explained. After all, he was only a 6th Tribulation Transcender, while Yi Liang was a 9th Tribulation Transcender. Immortal Yi Liang's expression changed. The Yu Chong that Wu Yi mentioned was the short immortal. This person's Tao of divination had advanced to the great Tao of karma 1,000 years ago. The result of his divination would naturally not be wrong. Furthermore, Wu Yi had said it in such detail. 130 years ago. That meant that the Purple Heaven Sword Manual was really with Jiang Ci. Jiang Ci held Jiang Dudu's hand tightly and stood expressionlessly behind the female immortal. He did not express the anger, worry, or doubt in his heart. The 2 of them had almost died just now. Although Immortal Yi Liang had returned and this unknown female immortal was protecting him, the sense of danger in his heart did not decrease. At the same time, he was also very doubtful. 130 years ago? Wasn't that the time when he first left Earth and went to the Blue Planet? Of course, this was not a problem that needed to be considered at the moment. More importantly, where would he go from here? Why did his cheap master, Daoist Ge, leave him with such a huge trap? Just as Jiang Ci's emotions were extremely complicated. Immortal Yi Liang solemnly said, Jiang Ci is a disciple of the 3rd heavenly layer. A tribulation transcender has no right to punish him. Although the Purple Cloud Sword scripture was more important than Jiang Ci, he wanted to save Jiang Ci's life. Jiang Ci had passed the 5th stage of the sky-piercing mountain after cultivating in the ancient Tao origin world for 30 years. With such talent, there was a high chance that he would become a tribulation transcender powerhouse in the sect, or even a Tao immortal powerhouse. Of course I know this, so I requested true monarch Yang Yu's decree. A bright yellow scroll appeared in Immortal Wu Yi's hand. The aura of a Tao immortal perfected lord spread out instantly. Immortal Yi Liang and the female immortal's expressions turned ugly. True monarch Yang Yu was Immortal Wu Yi's master. This was also the reason why Wu Yi, a 6th Tribulation Transcender, dared to speak like this in front of him. If it was an ordinary 6th Tribulation Transcender, he would have already slapped him. Immortal Yi Liang suppressed the anger in his heart and said again, True monarch Iron Mountain thinks highly of Jiang Ci. True monarch Yang Yu's decree is here. Do you dare to disobey? Immortal Wu Yi was not afraid at all. Immortal Yi Liang angrily said, I will definitely report this matter to True Monarch Iron Mountain. Do as you wish. Immortal Wu Yi's face stiffened as he coldly smiled and locked his gaze on Jiang Ci. But at this time, True Monarch Iron Mountain appeared out of thin air. There was a hint of anger on his dignified face. You dare to touch my people? Immortal Wu Yi bowed in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Greetings, True Monarch Iron Mountain. I only want to inherit the sect's legacy, and I dare not offend you. True Monarch Iron Mountain ignored him and looked at Jiang Ci, asking, You have the Purple Cloud Sword scripture? Jiang Ci nodded. That's right. There was nothing to hide now. Since they had come knocking on his door, there was no point in hiding it. True monarch Iron Mountain was silent for a moment before saying in a deep voice, I support Jiangxi in cultivating the purple cloud sword scripture. Iron Mountain, your support is useless. Before he entered the purple cloud sect, he already cultivated the purple cloud sword scripture. This is a violation of the sect's ban. According to the order, his soul should be searched before he is killed. At this time, a young man with a pale face appeared in front of everyone and said with a chuckle. It was obvious that he was true monarch Yang Yu. I have already taken Daoist Ge as my master. Before I started cultivating, I was already a disciple of the Purple Cloud Sect. Jiangxi did not continue to remain silent. If he did not struggle, he would really be gone. At this time, the female immortal also spoke. True monarch Yang Yu, true monarch Iron Mountain, Ge Ming's disciples are qualified to cultivate the Purple Cloud Sword scripture, right? Yes. True monarch Iron Mountain said in a deep voice. No. Although Ge Ming has the strength of a tribulation transcender, he has yet to become an immortal. His disciples are naturally not considered disciples of the Purple Cloud Sect. True monarch Yang Yu shook his head. Two true monarchs confronted each other. Even in the Purple Cloud Sect, such a scene had not appeared for many years. In the absence of Dao monarchs, the daily operations of the Purple Cloud Sect were naturally decided by these true monarchs. However, true monarch Yang Yu's status was obviously higher than true monarch Iron Mountain's. True monarch Yang Yu smiled and said, Wu Yi, search his soul and then kill him. Remember, not even his remnant soul can be left behind. How dare you? True monarch Iron Mountain shouted angrily. Suddenly, the world shook. The auras of the two true monarchs rose and instantly covered the starry sky. The stars in the sky seemed to tremble. Two huge figures appeared in the starry sky at the same time and were about to attack. On the other side, Immortal Yi Liang and the female immortal were confronting Immortal Wu Yi and Immortal Yu Chong. Immortal Wu Yi held true monarch Yang Yu's scroll and used its powerful aura to suppress Immortal Yi Liang. He suppressed the stronger Immortal Yi Liang and quickly approached Riverward. At this moment, Jiangxi was surprisingly calm. He grabbed Jiang Dudu's hand and looked at her. Jiang Dudu also smiled. It was as if the two of them were the only ones left in the world. At this moment, the starry sky suddenly changed. A purple scroll appeared in the starry sky, covering the sky and suppressing everything. Even the stars lost their light. The huge Dao shadows formed by the two true monarchs suddenly burst like bubbles. In the dark starry sky, only two words were left. Quasi-cultivator. It was as if these two words were meant to appear in this starry sky. True monarch Iron Mountain and true monarch Yang Yu, who were about to attack, immediately bowed. Yes, Dao monarch. The purple scroll hid in the starry sky again. True monarch Yang Yu's face darkened. He snorted and disappeared with Immortal Wu Yi and Immortal Yu Chong. As for true monarch Iron Mountain, he heaved a sigh of relief. In terms of strength and means, he was indeed inferior to true monarch Yang Yu, who had lived longer. Chapter 367. Everything that had happened on the Purple Heaven Sect's teleportation platform in just 3 minutes was something rarely seen in tens of millions of years. Tribulation Transcender, Perfected Lord, and Dao Lord, 3 immortal Dao experts had appeared one after another. All the nascent soul geniuses had already held their breaths, and no one dared to move. It was too terrifying. The geniuses were shocked, and their gazes were focused on Jiangxi. Because all this had happened because of Jiangxi. Everyone couldn't help but wonder. Who exactly was Jiangxi? What was the Purple Heaven Sword Manual? True monarch Iron Mountain didn't want to answer their questions. He said with a serious face, Yi Liang, take the rest of the kids and leave. Jiangxi, stay. Immortal Yi Liang nodded and didn't send them off in batches. Instead, he took the remaining second heaven and third heaven disciples and left together. Before leaving, Mu Ning looked at Jiangxi worriedly. But in the current situation, he obviously didn't have the right to speak. What had just happened made the geniuses understand one thing: they were still too weak. After Immortal Yi Liang left with the others, only true monarch Iron Mountain, that unknown female immortal, Jiangxi, and Jiang Dudu were left on the teleportation platform. The ordinary-looking female immortal bowed and said, "Lord Iron Mountain, leave the rest to me." True monarch Iron Mountain nodded and said, "All right, you're the most suitable person for this matter. Also, send Jiang Ci to the third heaven. I'll have Yi Liang send you the specific location." Then, he said to Jiang Ci, "Don't worry and cultivate. Since the Tao Lord has already issued a decree, no one will dare to mention this matter again." Jiang Ci said respectfully, "Thank you, Lord Iron Mountain. I still have one more thing to ask of you." "What is it?" True monarch Iron Mountain's mood was obviously a lot better. Jiang Ci asked, "This is my Tao partner. Can she enter the third heaven to cultivate with me?" Jiang Dudu blushed and didn't say anything. The female immortal of unknown identity, however, chuckled. True monarch Iron Mountain said, "According to the sect's rules, since you're Tao partners, of course you can be together. Just apply to the sect later." "Thank you, Lord." Jiang Ci hurriedly bowed. True monarch Iron Mountain nodded and disappeared. Riverward breathed a sigh of relief. According to the rules of the Purple Heaven sect, only Tao companions could cultivate together. That was why he had made this request. And this request was a last-minute decision. After the near-death experience just now, he had thought through many things. Some things couldn't be avoided or the other. If not for the timely appearance of this female immortal, Immortal Wu Yi's actions would have been slightly slower. He wouldn't have been able to hold on until Immortal Yi Liang, True Monarch Iron Mountain, and even the Tao Lord's decree arrived. Unexpectedly, the ordinary-looking female immortal smiled. "The disciples of the sect all call me Granny Yang. But you should call me Master's wife." Jiang Ci was stunned. Master's wife? Could she be the Tao partner of his cheap master, Daoist Ge? Daoist Ge didn't mention this in his inherited memories. On the contrary, Jiang Dudu's reaction was a bit faster as she tugged at him. The two of them hurriedly shouted, "Greetings, Master's wife." Granny Yang smiled and nodded. She said to Jiang Ci, "I know you have a lot of questions. Let's talk as we walk. Let's go to the third heaven first." Then, she activated the teleportation and the three of them disappeared from the teleportation platform. Space changed and when they reappeared, they were already in another world. The third heaven of the Purple Heaven sect. This was also the vast starry sky, but the environment was obviously more complicated. Looking around, there were all kinds of planets, meteorites, and starry sky continents. Jiang Ci and Jiang Dudu looked around. At this moment, the three of them were on a small starry sky continent. Their surroundings were empty. There were no other buildings except for a teleportation array under their feet. Granny Yang smiled and introduced. The first four heavens of the Purple Heaven sect are the cultivation residences of the core disciples. The first heaven has the most disciples. There are more than 1 million disciples, including 1 million nascent soul cultivators, 10,000 essence soul cultivators, and 10,000 Tao integration cultivators. The second heaven has a lot fewer disciples. There are a total of 12,000 disciples. 10,000 nascent soul cultivators, 1,000 essence soul cultivators, and 1,000 Tao integration cultivators. The third heaven has even fewer disciples. There are only 1,200 disciples. 1,000 nascent soul cultivators, 100 essence soul cultivators, and 100 Tao integration cultivators. The fourth heaven has the least disciples. There are only 120 disciples. 100 nascent soul cultivators, 10 essence soul cultivators, and 10 Tao integration cultivators. These words caused Jiang Ci and Jiang Dudu to be incomparably shocked. There were so few people living in such a big world. Masteress, how big are the third heaven? Jiang Ci asked. The largest diameter is 10 million light-years. If you want to live here in the future, you'll need a teleportation array and a flying boat when you travel, Granny Yang said with a smile. 10 million light-years, Jiang Ci and Jiang Dudu looked at each other. Yi Liang has already sent me a message. This starry sky continent is where your cave abode is. However, you'll have to build everything yourself. I'll give you the teleportation mark to enter and exit the third heaven later, Granny Yang said. He was the only one living in the entire starry sky continent. No, there were two people living in it now. How big was this starry sky continent? At least Jiang Ci couldn't see the end of it when he spread out his spirit consciousness. 1,000 kilometers? You can explore everything here later. If you have any doubts now, just ask, Granny Yang said seriously. Riverward thought for a moment and said, I have a total of 3 questions. First, which Tao Lord was the one who issued the Tao Lord's decree? It's Tao Lord 9 Firmaments, the guardian of the ancient Tao origin world. I don't know how I attracted his attention. Granny Yang was also puzzled. Tao Lord 9 Firmaments. Jiang Ci was even more puzzled. Did this peak expert notice me when I was cultivating in the ancient Tao origin world? Unfortunately, there was no definite answer. The only thing he could confirm was that there was a lot going on here. He continued to ask, second question, Master is only a Tao integration cultivator. How did he become Tao companions with Masteress? Jiang Dudu pinched him. How could he ask such a question? Granny Yang didn't mind and chuckled. Your master Ji Ming isn't as simple as you think. He was a 4th heaven disciple when he was alive. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been qualified to fight for the Violet Firmament Sword Manual. This time, Jiang Ci was really shocked, a 4th heaven disciple of the Tao integration stage. Granny Yang had just said that there were only 10 Tao integration stage disciples in the 4th heaven. He didn't think Daoist Ge was so powerful before. A 4th heaven disciple of the Tao integration stage could be regarded as a tribulation transcender. Their status was even higher than most tribulation transcenders. Jiang Ci took a deep breath. This cheap master of his really knew how to trick people. He asked again, last question, what secrets does the Violet Firmament Sword Manual hide? This was the most important question. Chapter 368. In the universe, 36 million years is an era. The time that my Purple Heaven sect has existed is already immeasurable. It should be counted in tens of thousands of eras. Have you heard that the patriarch of the Purple Heaven sect was once the strongest person in the Tao Alliance? Granny Yang spoke tirelessly and suddenly asked a question. Jiang Ci nodded. I've heard of it. Since it was in the past, did someone surpass the patriarch in strength, or? I don't know about these secrets. I only know that the patriarch has disappeared for countless eras. Disappeared? That's right. The Purple Heaven Sword scripture is the patriarch's legacy. Why is such an important legacy only with Master? This was a key question that had troubled Jiang Ci for a long time. Granny Yang's expression turned serious. Because it involves a taboo. Only one person can know and cultivate the Purple Heaven Sword scripture. Unless the inheritor becomes a Tao Lord or dies, the second person can cultivate it. One person knows, and one person cultivates. But Master died more than 6,000 years ago. The others in the sect should have been able to cultivate it long ago, right? Jiang Ci was surprised but still confused. You don't fully understand the meaning of one person knows. The Purple Heaven Sword scripture exists in the inheritor's mind in the form of an inheritance mark. Without an inheritance mark, even if you know the contents of the scripture, you can't cultivate it. Granny Yang shook her head. Then if the inheritor dies outside, won't the legacy be lost? Jiang Dudu couldn't help but ask curiously. Jiang Ci's expression changed. The Purple Heaven Sword scripture had been passed down for countless eras. Master Daoist Ge definitely wasn't the only inheritor who died. The Purple Heaven sect must have done something. Otherwise, the Purple Heaven Sword scripture would have been lost long ago. Of course, the things left behind by the ancestral patriarch aren't that simple. When the inheritor dies, no matter where in the universe they are, the ancestral patriarch will always be there. Even if it's in the ghost race's star zone or the demon race's star zone, the inheritance mark will return to the sect and choose a new inheritor. 10,000 years ago, Ge Ming, the previous inheritor of the Purple Heaven Sword scripture, died in the alien battlefield. After the inheritance mark returns to the sect, a new inheritor needs to be chosen. Among the disciples in the sect, only 2 level 4 disciples were left, Ge Ming and Wu Yi, after a round of qualification selection in the end, Ji Ming won and became the inheritor, while Wu Yi lost and became the alternate inheritor. But, so what if we win? Speaking of this, Granny Yang's face was filled with grief. Even if Ji Ming won, he was already dead. His competitor, Wu Yi, had become a sixth tribulation transcender after 10,000 years of cultivation. My condolences, mistress. Jiang Xi also sighed. Life was the most important thing. Once a person died, there would be nothing left. At the same time, he also understood. It was no wonder that immortal Wu Yi would attack him without mercy. Since Daoist Ge was dead, Wu Yi, the candidate for the successor, naturally became the next successor of the Purple Cloud Sword Manual. But now, the Purple Cloud Sword scripture was with him. Only his death could break the taboo of one person knowing another person's cultivation. Granny Yang reorganized her emotions and said in a low voice, "The accident happened more than 6,000 years ago after Ji Ming's life slip shattered. The elder in charge of the sect's inheritance found that the inheritance imprint of the Purple Cloud Sword Manual had not returned to the Purple Cloud sect." Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu looked at each other. Both of them had the same thought. Could it be because of Earth? Granny Yang continued, "This accident, which had never happened before in countless eras, shocked the experts of the sect. They mobilized all kinds of forces to find Ji Ming's traces. Karmic divination, heaven and earth tracking, bloodline tracking. They used countless methods, but they did not succeed. My Yang family's ancestor was a perfected Lord expert who was best at karmic divination. In order to divine this matter, he violated some kind of taboo, and his Tao was damaged. He had no choice but to go into seclusion to suppress the damage." Granny Yang's mood was very low. Obviously, Ji Ming's death had brought her great pain. Even after more than 6,000 years, she still could not forget. Jiang Xi sighed again. When the Azure Mystic sect accidentally found Earth, he received a piece of information. The experts of the Purple Cloud sect who were good at divination had once calculated that Daoist Ge might have died near the asteroid belt in the Milky Way, but they could not find him in the end. It turned out that this expert was Granny Yang's ancestor. And the taboo that this person violated was most likely related to Earth. Then, why did Master's remnant spirit make me swear that I would send the Purple Cloud Sword scripture back to the sect within 100 years? Jiang Xi asked again. Within 100 years? Granny Yang was startled. Then, she said softly, if Ji Ming was still alive, he would have lived for 10,000 years in another 50 years. Maybe he was worried that after his life was over and you didn't cultivate the Purple Cloud Sword scripture, the inheritance mark would disappear. If you could send it back to the sect within 100 years, you could choose a new inheritor. Jiang Xi nodded. This was very likely. This made sense. However, what Daoist Ge did not expect was that he had the experience panel, so there was no problem of whether he could cultivate it or not. He just had to memorize it a few times. And what happened to the Wen family on planet Murong? Do you know about it? Jiang Xi's expression became serious again. Of course I do. Wen Yang and I are old friends, but when the Wen family had an accident back then, I was held back by Wu Yi and couldn't help them. Besides, Wu Yi's master, perfected cultivator Yang Yu, was quite powerful in the sect, so I could only let it go. Granny Yang's voice was hoarse and there was helplessness and anger in her tone. Jiang Xi was silent. There were conflicts everywhere. Granny Yang's perfected cultivator ancestor was in seclusion, so her position in the sect was naturally inferior to Wu Yi's perfected cultivator Yang Yu. Since you asked about the Wen family on planet Murong, you should have been there when the Qianyang Grotto Heaven on planet Murong was unsealed 130 years ago, right? Granny Yang suddenly asked. Jiang Xi nodded and admitted. At that time, Daoist Changbai of the Purple Cloud sect sealed planet Murong and wanted to search the souls of all cultivators above the Golden Core level. However, the sect master of the Four Symbols sect, Yi Shan, said that he could leave planet Murong if he swore an oath. There were many suspicious points in this. No wonder the Yang family's perfected cultivator ancestor left me a message before he went into seclusion. He asked me to ask the sect master of the Four Symbols sect on planet Minglan to do something on planet Murong that year. It seems like the ancestor already knew something. Granny Yang was enlightened. Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat. This perfected cultivator who cultivated the Karma Great Tao was too sick. He divined what happened on planet Murong more than 6,000 years ago. Granny Yang seemed to have seen through Jiang Xi's thoughts and said seriously, "It seems like you have many secrets as well, so I won't ask about the rest. Remember, no matter who asks you anything in the future, say that you don't know. Even the details of the inheritance mark that Ji Ming gave you cannot be revealed to anyone. With Tao Lord Nine Clouds' Dharma will, no one will dare to do anything overboard to you." At this point, she paused for a moment before continuing. "The last 3 sentences are also what my Yang family's ancestor wanted me to tell you." Jiang Xi was shocked and tried his best to remain calm. Could it be that the Yang family's perfected cultivator ancestor had already divined his existence more than 6,000 years ago? Chapter 369. The 5th heavenly layer of the Purple Heaven sect was where the Purple Heaven sect's tribulation transcender powerhouses resided. On a planet filled with dense spiritual energy, immortal Wu Yi returned to his cave abode with a gloomy face. Tao Lord Nine Firmaments, a transcendent peak expert, would actually pay attention to such a trivial matter. Why? That nascent soul stage girl is also strange. She was able to break free from my restraints with just her nascent soul stage cultivation. He didn't understand and shook his head helplessly. If we don't figure out why Tao Lord Nine Firmaments issued this decree, we can't make a move. Neither of them can make a move. The Violet Firmament Sword Sutra, for now, I won't be able to acquire it. It's my only hope of becoming a Tao Lord. How hateful. Immortal Wu Yi's heart was filled with rage, but he had nowhere to vent it. As the candidate inheritor of the Purple Cloud Sword Sutra, he naturally knew some of its secrets. If ordinary cultivators wished to become Tao Lords, they would be able to do so. One needed to cultivate the Tao of Heaven and Earth, walk on the Great Tao of Heaven and Earth, and then walk on the Heavenly Tao. Only after walking through the Heavenly Tao could one become a Tao Lord. Every process was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. In the entire universe, countless living beings were groping their way forward. Even now, there weren't many living beings who could truly complete this path. As for the Violet Firmament Sword Sutra, it was the only legacy which had allowed one to train to the Tao Lord level. This was a path that had already been decided. As long as he continued down this path, he would have a chance of becoming a Tao Lord. Although the chances were very, very small, it was still better than fumbling around and walking. The chances of success were much higher. Tao Lord. Tao Lord. I'll definitely become a Tao Lord. Immortal Witchshine was originally someone with outstanding talent. He quickly pushed this matter to the bottom of his heart, adjusted his emotions, and continued to cultivate. However, it was impossible for him to give up the Violet Firmament Sword scripture just like that. Under normal circumstances, in order to ensure the stability of the inheritance, the inheritor of the Purple Cloud Sword Sutra would at least be at the Tao integration stage. In Wu Yi's opinion, a nascent soul stage brat could only be considered to have just stepped onto the path of cultivation. The chances of him dying in the future were too high. As long as Jiang Xi met with a little accident on his future path of cultivation, then his chance would come. The 3rd heaven of the Purple Heaven sect. Even after Granny Yang left this starry sky continent, Jiang Xi's heart was still filled with anxiety. The immortal Tao was treacherous. Those who cultivated the great Tao of Karma could not be judged with common sense. 6,000 years ago, Earth was still in the New Stone Age. And at that time, the Yang family patriarch had already divined his existence. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged and pondered for a long time before he recovered his composure. Then he smiled bitterly and shook his head. Before he left the ancient Tao origin world, he was still thinking that he should keep a low profile after he entered the Violet Heaven sect. Then, he would secretly find a suitable opportunity to hand over the Purple Firmament Sword scripture to the sect. However, he did not expect that he could not keep a low profile at all. Since even the Tao Lord had issued a decree for him, it was likely that the entire sect knew of his existence. Fortunately, his master, Daoist Ge, had given him a commission, and there was finally a result. Although he was still the one who cultivated the Purple Firmament Sword Sutra in the end, Tao Lord 9 Firmament had personally appointed him. Of course, it was considered a gift to the Purple Firmament sect. Jiang Dudu was worried as she watched Jiang Xi's expression change. Jiang Xi let out a long sigh and smiled. "I'm fine. Did they discover something?" Jiang Dudu asked. The Yang family's ancestor might have found something, but the others probably haven't. "We're still too weak." The two of them tacitly did not mention the word Earth. "All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Now, you should tell me how you came to the Purple Firmament sect." Jiang Xi did not want Jiang Dudu to worry, so he changed the topic. Jiang Dudu smiled and told him everything that had happened in the past 108 years. In fact, it was mainly about the development of the Mountain Sea Star trade. It sounded simple, but Jiang Xi could feel the hardships that Jiang Dudu had put in interstellar trade was not like the business environment on Earth. There were too many uncertainties. Galactic pirates, frequent galactic disasters, changes in the starry sky environment, and so on were all important factors that affected the development of an interstellar trade group. Under such circumstances, the Mountain Sea Star trade had only taken 100 years to develop from 1 billion low-grade spirit crystals to 100 billion low-grade spirit crystals today. It had increased by 100 times. Even the interstellar trade groups under the top immortal Tao sects could not guarantee that they could achieve this. It could be seen that Jiang Dudu had really experienced a lot over the years. Jiang Xi took a deep breath and hugged Jiang Dudu, who was still talking about something. Jiang Dudu's words were interrupted, but she smiled happily. They hugged each other, and everything was understood without words. "You said it. We'll be Tao companions in the future. You can't go back on your word. You're a dog if you go back on your word. Pinky swear. Didn't we pinky swear before? Let's do it again." Their laughter reverberated in the air. After that, they spent some time investigating the starry sky continent. The largest diameter of this continent was more than 10,000 kilometers, and the narrowest place was more than 5,000 kilometers. It was very luxurious for only 2 people to live in such a large area. Moreover, they found a spirit spring here. This was because the concentration of spirit chi in the level 3 world was much higher than that of the outside world. Therefore, Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu decided to build a palace next to this spirit spring. With their strength, the speed at which they built the house was very fast. A beautiful palace quickly took shape. In the end, Jiang Dudu named this starry sky continent Dudu Continent, and the palace was naturally Dudu Palace. Both of them knew their priorities. After building the house and doing some indescribable things, they began to cultivate. After all, cultivating was the most important thing now. Everything that happened on the teleportation platform of the Purple Heaven sect made Jiang Xi see a lot of things clearly. Even a level 3 disciple was insignificant in front of the upper echelons of the Purple Heaven sect. Only by becoming stronger would one have the right to speak. Just like Tao Lord 9 Clouds, a decree could suppress everything. One had to persist in one's dreams, but in the end, one still had to carry it out with one's feet on the ground. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged next to the spirit spring of the Dudu continent and secretly opened the experience panel. Cultivation True Body, Nascent Soul, Advanced Stage 1, 06 million 1, 06 million, Clone, Nascent Soul, Advanced Stage 1, 06 million 1, 06 million, Tao Sword Tao, Level 10,100,000,000, Li Fire Tao, Level 10,050,000,000, Gale Tao, Level 10,050,000,000, Amplitude, 2000 times, Sword Tao, Secret Techniques Tao Fusion Technique, Sword Tao, Li Fire Tao, Gale Tao, 30,000,000, 000,300,000,000, Amplitude 3, Cultivation Techniques, Purple Heaven Sword Manual, Peacock Visualization, Melody. Of 10,000 swords deduction, 10,000 experience points per time experience points, 100 000000985 440 000. In the past 30 years in the ancient Tao source world, not only have my Tao techniques and secret techniques improved, but my experience points have also exceeded 10 billion. Jiang Xi smiled. Of course, the experience points he obtained in the ancient Tao source world were more than that. However, more than half of them were used to deduce, and these were the last. Chapter 370. Jiang Ci calculated carefully in his heart. My clone is still refining his spiritual sense. It will probably take a long time before it's done. If I want to improve my strength, I'll have to rely on my Tao techniques. As long as any one of the 3 Taos of heaven and earth breaks through to the next level, my strength will improve. Next, I'll continue to deduce. However, after a day of deduction, he started to worry. Because the efficiency of deduction was too low. It was tens of times slower than in the ancient Tao source world. In the ancient Tao source world, deduction would consume millions of experience points, and there would be slight changes in the Tao techniques. But now, deduction would consume tens of millions of experience points, and there would only be changes. Jiang Ci was naturally aware of the reason. Compared to the original universe, the Tao techniques in the ancient Tao source world were unstable and easier to comprehend. Therefore, his deduction efficiency would be higher there. The tune of 10,000 swords deduction effect on sword Tao is also not that obvious. Jiang Ci shook his head again. This was because he was about to fully grasp the tune of 10,000 swords. No matter what, he had to think of a way to increase the efficiency of deduction. After experiencing the pleasure of 100 times faster, he would definitely not be used to returning to normal speed. At this moment, his communication pearl showed that someone had sent him a message. He scanned it with his spiritual sense and smiled. After the call connected, a phantom that looked like a real person appeared in front of River Word. Disciple greets master. Jiang Ci bowed respectfully. Disciple, we haven't seen each other for a few days. Did you miss me? The wine sword immortal was still slovenly and his clothes were unbuttoned. Disciple has some cultivation problems and would like to ask master for help. Jiang Ci smiled. The wine sword immortal took a sip of wine and shook his head. Do you feel that your cultivation speed has slowed down a lot? How does master know? Because all the cultivators who have just left the ancient Tao source world will encounter this problem. Does that mean master has a way to solve this problem? Jiang Ci's eyes lit up. I came to find you because of this. The wine sword immortal smiled, then he said, search for the Lotus Sword manual in the Purple Heaven sect's treasure vault. Jiang Ci's mind stirred, and another 3-dimensional phantom appeared in front of him. It was the Purple Heaven sect's treasure pavilion. Search for the Lotus Sword manual. Suddenly, a list of information appeared in the virtual store. Green Lotus Sword technique, 680,000 points. It's a high-level technique of the Green Lotus Sword technique. Only disciples of the third sky and above can purchase it. The price made Jiang Ci's teeth ache. 680,000 points. After conversion, it would be 68 million top-grade spiritual crystals. He then looked at his balance, 30,912 points. For young cultivators who were entering the ancient Tao origin world for the first time, the points they would be rewarded for challenging the sky-piercing mountain would be 10 times more than normal. In the end, he passed the 5th level and obtained 31,000 points. Previously, in order to buy the tune of 10,000 swords, he had spent 88 points and kept the rest. At that time, Jiang Ci knew how precious the points were and did not dare to spend them recklessly. But from the looks of it now, no matter how frugal they were, it was still not enough. Master, I can't afford this. Jiang Ci looked at the wine sword immortal. The wine sword immortal smiled and said, of course you can't afford it, and even I can't afford it. All the points I've accumulated over the years have been exchanged for wine. However, this is the Sword Tao manual written by your master's wife. I have the authority to give it to you, as long as you swear not to give it to anyone else. Master's wife? Granny Yang? Jiang Ci quickly realized that Granny Yang was the Tao companion of his other master, Daoist Ge. After hearing the wine sword immortal's words, he quickly threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. If that was the case, then all he had to do was swear. Then, he swore a heavenly Tao oath in front of the wine sword immortal. Although the wine sword immortal looked unrestrained, a trace of complicated emotions flashed in his eyes. He said, "The sword Tao is also the Tao of killing. After you obtain the Lotus Sword Manual, you still need to constantly fight. I suggest that you accept some sect cultivation missions while comprehending the Tao technique. Not only can you obtain points, but you can also increase your battle experience." Jiang Xi nodded and memorized it one by one with a serious expression. In addition, you don't have to worry about immortal Wu Yi. Just cultivate at ease. No one dares to disobey the decree of Tao Lord Nine Cloud. The Wine Sword Immortal said seriously. Tao Lord's decree was invited by Master? Jiang Xi was stunned for a moment. Of course, Tao Lord doesn't have time to pay attention to a nascent soul stage kid like you. The Wine Sword Immortal laughed. Jiang Xi breathed a sigh of relief. The worry that lingered in his heart was reduced by half. He thought that Tao Lord Nine Clouds had long been eyeing him. It was good that it wasn't. All right, you can comprehend the Lotus Sword Manual first. If there is anything you don't understand, send me a message. The Wine Sword Immortal finally instructed. Thank you, Master. Jiang Xi bowed respectfully. The Wine Sword Immortal drank a mouthful of wine and disappeared. Soon, Jiang Xi's communication pearl received a message from the Purple Heaven Sect's treasure pavilion. The internal capacity was huge. Even with his peak nascent soul stage spiritual sense, it took him a lot of time to memorize all the contents in his mind. Master's Tao companion is actually so powerful. It turns out that the Sword Tao can be understood this way. This is a more detailed Sword Tao manual than the Myriad Sword Melody. Just by sorting out the entire Lotus Sword Manual once, Jiang Xi felt that his Sword Tao seemed to have been sublimated. Moreover, he felt that the Sword Tao described in the Lotus Sword Manual was somewhat similar to his Sword Tao. But with his current attainments in the Sword Tao, he still couldn't see how similar it was. After thinking about it, he searched the Eye of the Heavenly Mountain network for keywords, Lotus plus Green Lotus Sword Tao. Almost instantly, there was a result. Lotus Sword Immortal, 9th Tribulation Transcender, died 50,000 years ago. Seeing this information, Jiang Xi fell into silence. He thought of the Wine Sword Immortal's information. 50,000 years ago, the Wine Sword Immortal joined forces with a Tribulation Transcender to defeat and seriously injure a Tao Immortal of the monster race. Could it be because of this? Jiang Xi shook his head and temporarily put this guess in the bottom of his heart. Of course, he was concerned about the Wine Sword Immortal. But with his current strength, he was still far from the Tribulation Transcender or Tao Immortal level. It was better to calm down and cultivate. When he was strong enough, everything would naturally be clear. He turned his attention back to the content of the Lotus Sword Manual. The Lotus Sword Manual is a high-level manual that explains the Green Lotus Sword Tao's sword intent level. There are a total of 10 sword techniques, which correspond to the 10 realms of sword intent. Every sword technique has 7,200 moves. If it was an ordinary Green Lotus Swordway cultivator, they would be able to use it. If it's a normal Green Lotus Sword Tao, it would probably take at least 1,000 years or even 10,000 years to comprehend these sword techniques. Thinking of this, Jiang Xi smiled. With the experience points panel, he was of course not afraid of these troubles. Sword intent corresponds to the Great Tao level of conventional Daoist techniques. I hope this manual can help me deduce the Sword Tao. He was looking forward to it and started to deduce in his heart. Use the Purple Firmament Sword Manual, the Sword Tao, and the Lotus Sword Manual to deduce once. After a while, the deduction ended. He carefully sensed it. It seemed like there was a change, but it also seemed like there was no change. Chapter 371. Jiang Xi was very patient and deduced 100 times in a row. Once again, he felt the changes in his Tao technique. It's working. This was at least 10 times faster than the speed at which he had deduced the previous time. Of course, it was still slower than the deduction in the ancient Tao source world. 10 times faster is better than nothing. Jiang Xi laughed. This way, the cultivation speed of his Tao technique had increased again. His master, the Wine Sword Immortal, had given him a big gift. Jiang Dudu, who was cultivating in the palace, also smiled when she heard Jiang Xi's carefree laughter. No matter where she was, as long as she could be by Jiang Xi's side, it was fine. However, Jiang Xi only quietly deduced his Dao technique for a few days before stopping his cultivation. Because he had guests. The other young geniuses who had just entered the third heaven came to Jiang Xi's house as guests. Mu Ning, Mo Hong, Feng Lu, Shui Tong, Li Xianxian, and Lin Ling Er. Although there was competition between them, their relationship was usually not that tense. After the 6 of them teleported over, they were attracted by the palace built by Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu. Jiang Xi, you built such a big palace, but I only built a thatched hut. Mu Ning looked around and was envious. That's because you don't know how to enjoy it. Jiang Xi laughed. No, I have to get one later. Mu Ning was unwilling to admit defeat. The other 5 also laughed. Jiang Dudu was just playing the role of the hostess and preparing some food. Although they didn't need to eat anymore, she still made some symbolically. After the tour, the new geniuses of the third heaven sat on the ground beside the spirit spring. Jiang Xi, do you feel that your cultivation speed has slowed down a lot? Mo Hong asked. You guys feel it too? Jiang Xi asked in return, which was equivalent to admitting it. He also didn't reveal that he had solved this problem. How can we not feel that our cultivation speed has slowed down by dozens of times? Feng Lu also sighed. I've asked an old disciple of the third heaven. They all buy the corresponding high-level Dao techniques to increase their cultivation speed. Li Xianxian said. Lin Ling shook her head and said, high-level books are too expensive. At least 100,000 points. We can't afford it. The few of them spoke one after another about the difficulties they had encountered recently. Bloodchild, who had always been silent, suddenly spoke, I'm going to take on a cultivation mission, just like Lord Iron Mountain said. The past 30 years in the ancient Dao origin world have been too peaceful, so much so that we've forgotten that battle is the fastest way to improve our strength. Only by experiencing the terror of life and death would one be able to experience greater power. Before the 9-region genius battle, I experienced countless battles and traversed mountains of corpses and seas of blood, so my cultivation speed isn't much slower than when I was in the ancient Dao origin world. Agreed. The others echoed. Both of them are working so hard. Looks like I can't relax either. Mu Ning muttered softly. Riverward's expression was calm. What had happened on the teleportation platform a few days ago had shocked everyone. They, as third heaven disciples, had noble statuses. However, in front of tribulation transcenders, perfected lords, and Dao lords, they were not worth mentioning at all. Everyone felt that they were weak and did not dare to relax. They could only work harder. The geniuses were not willing to fall behind. Mu Ning and the others stayed at Jiang Xi's place to exchange their cultivation experiences and stayed for 3 days before leaving. After they left, Jiang Xi fell into deep thought beside the spirit spring. Jiang Dudu stood guard at the side. She knew what Jiang Xi was thinking. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding. Jiang Dudu suddenly smiled and said, Big brother, since you've already made a decision, just do it. Jiang Xi sighed softly with a complicated expression. A few days ago, Wine Sword Immortal suggested that he take on a cultivation mission. At that time, he was still a little hesitant. What Mu Ning and the others said just now had touched him again. Using the EXP panel steadily could indeed increase one's strength. However, there was another saying, time waits for no man. If he walked slower than others, he would fall behind. More importantly, the Yang family's patriarch's karma divination made him feel a trace of fear. More than 6,000 years ago, this perfected cultivator already knew of his existence. What about the secret of Earth? Did the Yang family's patriarch know? If another karma divination cultivator who was even more powerful than the Yang family's patriarch came, would he be able to directly see the secret of Earth? These were all hidden threats. And his current strength was still too weak. Therefore, he also needed to fight and become stronger as soon as possible. Jiang Dudu also understood this point and did not stop him. The only thing is that no matter what you do, you must come back alive, Jiang Dudu said with a serious expression. What are you thinking about? I don't want to lose my life outside. Jiang Xi rubbed Jiang Dudu's head like before. After Jiang Dudu went to cultivate, Jiang Xi held the communication bead in his hand. With a thought, he entered the cultivation center of the Purple Heaven Sect's intranet through the Eye of Sky Mountain network. A three-dimensional image appeared in front of him, including cultivation missions, cultivation techniques, and so on. He looked at the cultivation missions and found that there were 4 categories: normal, difficult, dangerous, and hell. These were the 4 difficulty levels, and each of them had a mortality rate. Normal missions, mortality rate is 10%. On average, 1 out of 10 disciples will die. Difficult missions, mortality rate is 30%. Dangerous missions, mortality rate is 50%. Hell missions, mortality rate is 90%. Jiang Xi thought for a while and entered the dangerous missions. The next moment, a message popped up in the three-dimensional image. Warning: the mortality rate of the missions is only the statistics under normal circumstances. If you choose the dangerous missions for the first time, the mortality rate is 70%. There are more than 1 million core disciples in the Purple Heaven sect, but very few of them can truly enter the immortal realm. More than 60% of them die in various cultivation missions. Level 3 disciple Jiang Xi, I hope you will consider carefully before you choose. Jiang Xi's expression did not change. Of course, it was not that easy to become an immortal. Choosing the normal and difficult missions was indeed very safe, but it would also lose the effect of cultivation. Therefore, he continued to enter the dangerous missions. Suddenly, a series of mission information appeared in the three-dimensional image Qianyu continent, located in the Purple Heaven sect's Level 4, Yuan Cheng planet, located in the Purple Heaven sect's Level 4, BA2 Mystic Realm, located in the Buddhist Tianyin world, Kongming land, located in the Daoist Grand Manor world, Do Tattoo continent, located in the Purple Heaven sect's Level 3, Divine Tree Hollow, located in the Guanghan sect's Luo River world, Jingyu Mystic Realm, located in the Purple Heaven sect's Level 3. There were a total of 2020 dangerous missions. Jiang Xi roughly looked through them with his spiritual consciousness and left the missions located in the Purple Heaven sect's Level 3. It was closer, more convenient. After careful selection, he confirmed the missions of the Do Tattoo continent. Chapter 372. The Battle Pattern continent is a starry sky continent that existed when the third heaven was first established. Its largest diameter can reach 100 million light-years. Its huge area gave birth to countless lives, and after a long time, it evolved into various unique civilizations. There are also cultivators on this continent, but their cultivation method is somewhat different from the original universe. After reading the detailed description of the mission, Jiang Xi was filled with interest about the Battle Pattern continent. This continent was very interesting. Due to its large area, it has all kinds of rich cultivation resources. There are also immortal Dao powerhouses there, but the strongest is only a tribulation transcender. Moreover, the Battle Pattern continent has been set up by the powerhouses of the Purple Heaven sect. Even tribulation transcenders can't rush out of it. Seeing this, Jiang Xi somewhat understood. This place was specially set aside by the Purple Heaven sect for their disciples to gain experience and improve. The third heaven was equivalent to a small universe. Living in this world were not only the 1,200 Purple Heaven sect disciples, but also all kinds of life forms in secret realms. The Battle Pattern continent was one of the ancient civilizations with a long history, and its overall strength was very strong. In Jiang Xi's opinion, it was even more powerful than many star regions of the Dao Alliance's 9 regions. The Battle Pattern continent is full of hatred for foreign cultivators. Moreover, they only cultivate the 5 elements, and other Daos are regarded as heretical. I have the Dao of fire, so it's not a problem at all. I just need to learn the language of the Battle Pattern continent. Jiang Xi chose to accept the Battle Pattern continent mission. The 3D phantom in front of him showed new information. Battle Pattern continent mission objectives and rewards. 1. Obtain a Dao Pattern blood crystal. Completion will give you 10,000 points. 2. Become a Dao Pattern cultivator. Completion will give you 100,000 points. Note: completion of the first objective will be considered a success. In the past 10 million years, only one cultivator who chose this mission has completed both objectives at the same time. Third Heaven Disciple Jiang Ci, you have chosen the Battle Pattern Continent mission. 1 month later, the sect will send someone to send you to the Battle Pattern Continent. A message popped up in the 3D phantom. Jiang Ci let out a light breath looking at the mission introduction. The Tao Pattern blood crystal only exists in the Battle Pattern Continent. It's not found anywhere else in the original universe. I wonder what's so special about it. He searched the Eye of Heaven network, but there were no results. It's probably because my authority level isn't high enough. Jiang Ci shook his head. We'll set off in a month's time. I need to prepare well. Although the mission description is very detailed, it's still an unknown world. He then entered the Purple Heaven Sect's treasure pavilion. After a careful search, he found many good things. Low-grade Immortal Treasure Soul Extinguishing Scroll, one-time use, 1 million points. If used in a surprise attack, it can kill up to Tribulation Transcenders. Low-grade Immortal Level Spirit-type Battle Armor, 360,000 points. It can withstand a full-powered attack from a third Tribulation Transcender at most. Low-grade Immortal Weapon, Flame Devil Saber, 880,000 points. Supreme-grade Spirit Artifact Soul Annihilation Scroll, one-time use, 10,000 points. If used by surprise, it can annihilate late-stage Tao integration cultivators. Supreme-grade Flying Boat, 3,000 points. Maximum speed is 3 times the speed of light. After browsing for half a day, Jiang Ci looked up and sighed. I'm too poor. In the end, he mainly bought a Supreme-grade Flying Boat and a Supreme-grade Spirit Artifact, Soul Annihilation Scroll. The first was to escape, and the second was to kill the enemy. These were his trump cards. As for the Supreme-grade Spirit Artifact and Supreme-grade Battle Armor, he had already bought them last time. No matter how fast I am now, I can't reach the speed of light. If I encounter danger, I can directly escape with the flying boat. If I really can't escape, I can only use the Soul Annihilation Scroll. Of course, this was the worst-case scenario. For no reason, he wouldn't provoke an enemy that he couldn't deal with. After placing the order, he deducted the points and waited for the delivery. Because Jiang Ci was in the third heavenly layer of the Purple Heaven Sect, just an hour later, the items were delivered by an Essence Soul disciple. After receiving the items, he began to refine the Supreme-grade Flying Boat with all his strength. With the current strength of his spiritual sense, he should be able to refine it within a month. As for the Supreme-grade Spirit Artifact Soul Annihilation Scroll, it was a one-time use magical treasure and didn't need to be refined. When using it, he could directly activate it with his spiritual sense. Time flew, and a month quickly passed. On this day, Jiang Ci was fully armed and ready to set off. Brother, remember my words. Jiang Dudu said seriously. Don't worry, wait for me to come back. Jiang Ci smiled and waved his hand as he walked towards the teleportation array. In front of the teleportation array, a young cultivator in purple armor was standing. Senior brother Jiang Ci, I am Luan Yi, a disciple of the first heavenly layer. I am under the orders of the sect to send you to the Tao Pattern Continent. The young man smiled. Thank you, sorry to trouble you. Jiang Ci nodded and thanked him. He could see through the cultivation of the Essence Soul stage, but he couldn't see through Luan Yi's, so the other party could only be a Tao integration stage disciple. Luan Yi called him senior brother because according to the rules of the Purple Heaven Sect, disciples of lower heavenly layers had to address disciples of higher heavenly layers as senior brother. Of course, this was just a rule. He wasn't stupid enough to act arrogantly in front of a Tao integration stage disciple. Senior brother, you're welcome. Luan Yi chuckled. Obviously, Jiang Ci's attitude made him very comfortable. Then shall we set off now? Luan Yi confirmed. Let's go. Jiang Ci nodded and then waved at Jiang Dudu in the distance again. Luan Yi activated the teleportation array, and the two of them disappeared in the dazzling light of the teleportation array. Cultivate. Jiang Dudu clenched her fists tightly, unwilling to be left behind. After a series of spatial changes, Jiang Xi and Luonyi appeared on a teleportation platform in the starry sky. In front of them was a huge palace the size of a planet, motionless in the starry sky. Countless cosmic dust and star fragments floated around them. It was as if a great battle had taken place here countless years ago. Below them was a vast continent shrouded in clouds. It was the dough pattern continent. Among the clouds, there were colorful array formations and boundaries circulating. That palace is the Hall of Six Virtues. Many of the Purple Heaven sect's immortal Tao experts cultivate here and guard the dough tattoo continent at the same time, Luonyi explained. Riverward's expression changed. They'd already trapped this continent with formations and boundaries, yet they'd still placed so many immortal Tao experts here to guard it with great fanfare. It seemed like the dough tattoo continent wasn't as simple as the mission introduction said. He became even more vigilant. Senior brother, the life forms on the dough tattoo continent can't pass through the boundaries, but Purple Heaven sect disciples don't have this restriction and can enter and leave the dough tattoo continent at will. When the mission is over, you can use the teleportation platform here to return. Luonyi smiled. I'll stop here. I wish you success in your mission in advance. Thank you. Jiang Xi cupped his hands in thanks and flew down. His figure quickly disappeared into the slowly flowing clouds below. Luonyi watched Jiang Xi disappear and shook his head gently, sighing in his heart. As expected of a third heaven genius disciple. When he was in the nascent soul stage, he only dared to take on ordinary missions. Jiang Xi, on the other hand, started with dangerous missions. Chapter 373. The fog formed by the array was very thick. Jiang Xi deliberately controlled the speed of his descent so as not to cause a huge commotion. It took him a total of 5 hours to break through the fog and see the land of the dough tattoo continent. I have to be careful here. I might encounter cultivators from the dough tattoo continent. I should hide and figure out the situation before taking action. With that thought in mind, Jiang Xi quickly landed in a mountain range covered with dense forests. This mountain range truly explained what was called the 100,000 Mountains. It stretched on for tens of thousands of kilometers. As it was in the third heaven world, the spirit energy here was also very rich. The vegetation in the dough tattoo continent was obviously much more lush. Towering trees that were thousands of meters tall could be seen everywhere. Jiang Xi strolled leisurely in this mountain range and observed the environment. These details could not be found in the mission information. The plants are already so strong. The animals must not be simple. Jiang Xi's spirit consciousness spread out in all directions. Soon, he discovered many powerful animals that were very similar to the monsters on Earth. Roar! A one-legged bull that was almost 1,000 meters tall rushed out of the forest. It let out a thunderous roar and attacked Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi grinned. His body flashed and he swung his long sword lightly. He did not even use Taoist techniques. The huge one-legged bull's roar came to an abrupt end as it fell to the ground with a loud bang. You killed a level 8 savage beast, middle stage golden core. Experience points plus 1250. A level 8 savage beast. Any wild beast has the strength of a golden core. It seems that the human cultivators here cannot be underestimated. Jiang Xi remained cautious and continued moving forward. He had to leave this forest first and go to a place with human habitation. Only then could he gather information. With his strength, he would be able to leave very quickly if he ran at full speed. However, to be cautious, it was better to keep a low profile. If a powerful cultivator used their spirit consciousness to discover him, he might be in danger. Not long ago, at the edge of this forest, a 4-man warrior team wearing black armor was about to enter the forest. However, they were stopped by another 4-man warrior team wearing red armor. Xiao Lin, you coward. How dare you come to the 100,000 Mountains? One of the red-armored youths sneered. Among the black-armored martial artists, a youth with a youthful face said angrily with a flushed face, "And Yuan, don't look down on people. This time, I will definitely hunt down a grade 3 savage beast." Ha ha ha. The 3 youths of the red-armored warrior team suddenly burst into laughter. Only the pretty girl in red armor frowned and shouted, "All right, if you have the time, think about how to hunt the savage beast." Yunxiang, you're speaking up for Xiao Lin again. Who doesn't know that this kid is the weakest martial artist in Black Cloud Academy? He hasn't even killed a level 3 savage beast after 5 years of cultivation. And Yuan sneered again. Xiao Lin, who was wearing black armor, glared at An Yuan, but he could not refute what An Yuan said. He stole another glance at the captain of the Red Armor Squad, Yun Xiong, with mixed feelings. Being belittled like this in front of his sweetheart made him very uncomfortable. Then, the two teams split into 2 groups and entered the 100,000 Mountains. Xiao Lin, fight for yourself. In a while, the 3 of us will create the conditions for you to hunt, but in the end, you'll still be the one to do it. The captain of the Black Armor Squad said in a deep voice. He sighed in his heart. If not for the elders in Xiao Lin's family taking care of him, he would not have brought Xiao Lin to the 100,000 Mountains to train. Just like what An Yuan said, Xiao Lin was indeed the most cowardly martial artist in Black Cloud Academy. However, Xiao Lin's strength was not weak. He just did not dare to hunt savage beasts. Captain, don't worry. This time, I will definitely kill a level 3 savage beast. Xiao Lin gripped his saber tightly, the muscles and veins on his hands bulging. The 4-man team carefully searched the periphery of the 100,000 Mountains. With their strength, they only dared to move around the periphery. Once they went deeper, it would be fine if they encountered a level 4 savage beast. If they encountered a level 5 savage beast, they might be completely wiped out. After walking for a while, the tall captain suddenly raised his hand and gestured for everyone to stop. The captain whispered, "There's movement in front. It should be the aura of a level 3 savage beast." The other 2 in the team immediately became alert. Xiao Lin, on the other hand, was a little nervous. He was naturally timid, so there was nothing he could do. Whoosh soon, Xiao Lin and the other 2 heard a sound coming from afar. They saw a black-haired young man with a long sword on his back, leisurely stepping on the fallen leaves and walking out of the forest. Phew, it's a human. Xiao Lin heaved a sigh of relief. The next moment, he suddenly exclaimed. No, there's a savage beast. A level 3 savage beast. A 4-eyed savage beast leaped out from the dense forest beside them and pounced on the black-haired young man. It's too close. He can't dodge it. Xiao Lin gripped his saber tightly and struggled in his heart. That was because he was the closest to the 4-eyed savage beast. Save him. While the captain and the other 2 were still in a daze, he directly rushed out. He suddenly slashed out with his saber. There was a puff. The 4-eyed savage beast was directly killed by Xiao Lin. What? He killed a level 3 savage beast with one slash. He has the strength of a level 4 warrior. The captain and the other 2 were shocked. Jiang Ci was also stunned for a moment. A level 3 savage beast was only equivalent to a grade A monster on Earth. For a savage beast of such strength to attack him, it was no different from a mosquito pouncing on him. He did not even take it seriously. He could kill it with a breath. He did not expect the young man to be so warm-hearted. He could tell that Xiao Lin went through a struggle when he attacked earlier. The frequency of his heartbeat showed that his heart was filled with fear. That was an attack to overcome his fear. Not bad, Xiao Lin. You're so strong. Why are you so timid? The captain laughed. That's right. You killed a level 3 savage beast with one slash. You're even stronger than our Nguyen. Xiao Lin scratched his head and was still a little shy. Hey, big brother, are you okay? Xiao Lin took the initiative to ask Jiang Ci that attack had boosted his confidence by quite a bit. Jiang Ci gently shook his head. Thank you very much. Captain, I think this big brother isn't very strong. It's quite dangerous here. Why don't we? Xiao Lin was about to say something. Suddenly, there was movement in the forest in the distance. It was the sound of messy footsteps. Xiao Lin, the captain, and the others immediately looked over. They saw Yun Xiong leading a team of 4 through the forest. It's been killed. Our Nguyen's expression changed. Their team was the first to discover the 4-eyed savage beast. They followed it here, but they did not expect it to be killed. Did you guys kill it? Yuan's gaze turned to Xiao Lin and the others with an unfriendly expression. I killed it. Xiao Lin snorted coldly. Ha ha, what a joke. Yuan laughed loudly. Jiang Xi frowned slightly. He had planned to go with the warm-hearted young man, Xiao Lin. He wanted to leave the forest and go to a city with humans. Now that there was a conflict, it seemed that the plan had to be changed. Conflict would bring trouble, and there was no way to keep a low profile. Chapter 374. Missions in the Do Tattoo continent were considered dangerous missions. The official mortality rate was as high as 50%. If it was their first time doing a dangerous mission, the mortality rate would reach 70%. That was why Jiang Xi never let his guard down and treated everything cautiously. He would try his best not to make a move if he could. He kept a low profile. As for Xiao Lin's safety, Jiang Xi was not worried. That was because this warm-hearted youth was stronger than the one who laughed loudly. A rank 4 warrior is equivalent to an early-stage spirit nurture warrior, and these youths are only 15 or 16 years old. This shows how powerful this continent is as a whole. Just as Jiang Xi was thinking about these things, the confrontation between the two teams of martial artists was still ongoing. And Yuan, don't go overboard. Everyone in our team can prove that this rank 3 beast was killed by Xiao Lin, Lian who said in a deep voice. PH, I don't care who killed you. Anyway, we found the beast first. The materials on the beast should belong to us. And Yuan was very strong. Dream on. I killed this beast. Xiao Lin was enraged and drew his sword again. And Yuan, that's enough. The red-armored girl, Yun Xiong, shouted and stopped Yuan. And Yuan's expression was a little ugly, but he was not as strong as Yun Xiong, so he did not dare to do anything. We only saw the beast and did not attack. It's impossible to determine who did it with just a glance. Yun Xiong reasoned with him. Let's go and find the next one. Before she left, she looked at Xiao Lin. Do your best. Show everyone your results. Xiao Lin was stunned for a moment. He looked at the girl's back and waved his fist excitedly. Do your best, Xiao Lin. Do your best. Haha Lian Hu and the other two mimicked Yun Xiong's words and teased in unison. Xiao Lin did not lower his head this time, but he was much braver and his gaze was firm. Beside him, Jiang Xi also laughed. That warm-hearted youth was quite interesting. Not only that, but the red-armored girl named Yun Xiong was not as simple as she looked. Finally, Xiao Lin invited Jiang Xi to come along again. Without conflict, Jiang Xi was naturally willing. He could follow them and understand the situation here in advance. In Xiao Lin's opinion, Jiang Xi was probably an adventurer who came to the 100,000 mountains to train. This was because he didn't sense any martial artist's aura from Jiang Xi. That sword also looked ordinary. It was probably just an ordinary weapon. Brother Jiang, where are you from? Xiao Lin asked curiously. Jiang Xi smiled and said, I've traveled far and wide. The 4 seas are my home. Xiao Lin thought to himself that he was indeed an adventurer. However, being alone was too pitiful. Sympathy welled up in his heart. Has Brother Jiang ever left the Black Cloud territory and traveled to other cities? Xiao Lin asked again. No, Jiang Xi replied. Kid, don't ask questions. The Black Cloud territory is so big. If you're not a rank 9 warrior, you won't have the strength to go out. Lian Hu patted Xiao Lin's head and smiled apologetically at Jiang Xi. As the captain of a small team of warriors, he was naturally more knowledgeable than Xiao Lin. Lian Hu always felt that this black-haired youth named Jiang Xi was not that simple. This was because Jiang Xi was too relaxed. In this dangerous 100,000 mountains, he could still be so calm. Jiang Xi did not care. These youths who had not even reached the golden core stage could not see his strength. He was thinking about Lian Hu's words just now. Black Cloud territory and rank 9 warrior were 2 key pieces of information. There were hundreds of millions of tribes in the Do-Pattern continent. The area of each tribe was at least 1 million square kilometers. Above the tribes were various territories, such as the Black Cloud territory. Above the territory was the main city. The so-called rank 9 warrior was only a cultivator in the late stage of the golden core stage. According to the mission information, after a cultivator in the Do pattern continent reaches rank 9, he can cultivate a rank 9 warrior. Then, you will be able to practice the Dao pattern secret technique and become a 1 pattern doja, which is equivalent to having the strength of a golden core full foundation stage cultivator. The second goal of the mission is to become a 2-striped Do master. From this point of view, a 2-striped Do master is only at the nascent soul stage. The difficulty is not high, so why is the mission reward as high as 100,000 points? Jiang Ci was puzzled. I don't know what the so-called Dao pattern secret technique is. It seems that I have to find one to practice. The mission introduction given by the Purple Heaven sect did not describe the Dao pattern secret technique in detail. He had to explore it himself. In another part of the forest, Yun Xiong's 4-man team found another rank 3 savage beast and quickly finished killing it. And Yuan kept silent with a sullen face. He had decided that when he returned to the Black Cloud Academy, he would quit this team. He had his own rules of conduct, and the style of Yun Xiong's team was obviously inconsistent with him. Let's go and find the next one, Yun Xiong said expressionlessly. But at this moment, whoosh whoosh whoosh, 6 men in black blocked their way, each of them exuding a powerful aura. A rank 8 warrior and 5 rank 7 warriors. Yun Xiong and An Yuan's faces changed greatly. Young Miss Yun of the Green Flame tribe? The leader of the men in black asked in a muffled voice. As soon as the words came out, An Yuan and the other 2 teams looked at Yun Xiong in shock. Then, as if avoiding the plague, they hurriedly distanced themselves from her. You are from the Lord's mansion? Yun Xiong calmed down. Yes, hand over the Dao pattern secret technique of your Yun family, and I can let you die quickly. The leader of the rank 8 warriors nodded. Come and get it if you have the ability, Yun Xiong snorted. Then, her aura suddenly erupted, and with a boom, she fled into the distance. She is actually a rank 7 warrior. The leader of the rank 8 warriors was shocked. Old 6, you stay and deal with those 3 little guys, he said. An Yuan and the other 2 were suddenly anxious and panicked. Sir, we are not from the Yun family. We have nothing to do with the Yun family. Spare our lives. The leader of the rank 8 warriors did not listen at all and chased after Yun Xiong with his men. The remaining rank 7 warrior sneered and walked towards the 3 of them, raising his saber. Yun Xiong ran for her life anxiously. Although she hid her strength, compared with the rank 8 warriors, she was still a little weaker. Moreover, the other party had 5 rank 7 warriors. Father, mother, grandfather, I may have to disappoint you. The revenge of the Yun family. Yun Xiong's heart was filled with despair. 10 years ago, the Yun family that ruled the Green Flame tribe was exterminated overnight. The one who did it was the overbearing Black Cloud Lord's mansion. She was the only Yun family member who escaped at that time. All these years, the Lord's mansion had been declaring the Yun family of the Green Flame tribe as heretics. That was why An Yuan and the other 2 members of the team had seen her as a scourge and immediately avoided her. Capture her alive and bring her back for the Lord to search her soul. Behind them, the warriors of the Lord's mansion caught up. Swoosh, that level 8 martial artist leaped and blocked Yun Xiong's path. Yun Xiong took a deep breath and faced these people with her sword. She was going to fight to the death. Whoosh, suddenly, a breeze blew past. The 5 martial artists who were blocking her fell to the ground with a plop without any signs of life. Chapter 375. There were a few thuds. A rank 8 warrior and 4 rank 7 warriors all fell to the ground. What? Yun Xiong's eyes widened in disbelief. How did they all die? At that moment, she saw a black-haired youth standing under a towering tree not far away. It's him. The person beside Xiao Lin before. He quietly killed a rank 8 warrior and 4 rank 7 warriors. With such strength, could he be a 1-pattern doja? Yun Xiong suppressed the shock in her heart and tried to calm herself down. She walked in front of Jiang Ci. Senior, thank you for saving my life. She bowed respectfully. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. I have a condition for saving you. Jiang Ci smiled. Senior, Please speak. Dao pattern mystic technique. Just these 4 words made Yun Xiong fall into silence. She was asking herself, was it worth it? The Yun family was exterminated because of the Dao pattern mystic technique that they obtained by chance. Now, in order to survive, she had to hand over the Dao pattern mystic technique. Was it worth it? Yun Xiong was a decisive person and quickly thought it through. Her family was gone. As long as she could survive, so what if she handed it over? Use your spiritual sense to input the Dao pattern mystic technique. Jiang Xi handed her a blank jade slip. Yun Xiong looked at the jade slip and confirmed her guess. This black-haired youth was definitely a one-pattern doja. After a while, she returned the jade slip to Jiang Xi. Make another oath to confirm that there are no flaws in the Dao pattern mystic technique in this jade slip. I will say it and you will recite it. Jiang Xi smiled. Yun Xiong did as she was told. Jiang Xi nodded in satisfaction. Then, there was an item in his hand. It was a transparent mask. Seeing this scene, Yun Xiong was shocked. A spatial treasure. I'm not taking your things for free. This is a disguised treasure that I used in my early years. As long as one isn't a 2-pattern Do master, they won't be able to see through the mask's disguise. I think it should be of help to you. Jiang Xi took out the low-grade spirit artifact mask that the Wen siblings gave him when he went to Murong Planet. A 1-pattern doja was at the perfected golden core stage while a 2-pattern Do master was at the nascent soul stage. This junior will never forget senior's great kindness. Yun Xiong was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly thanked him. It's a fair trade. Riverward smiled. Low-grade spirit weapons were not worth mentioning to him now. In comparison, the Dao pattern mystic technique was something that he wanted. Moreover, the way of refining weapons in the Do Tattoo continent was very backward. Even a low-grade spiritual weapon was exceptionally precious to them. Take care of yourself. I've taken care of the last black-clothed man for you. After saying that, Jiang Xi disappeared. Yun Xiong grabbed the impersonator's mask and bowed 3 times in the direction where Jiang Xi had been standing. Then, he entered the depths of the 100,000 mountains without looking back. Inside a secluded cave, she refined the impersonator's mask and understood the function of this artifact. What a powerful magic treasure! With this item, I don't have to be afraid of being hunted down by the Grand Lord's mansion. As long as one is not a 2-line dosha, they will not be able to discover my true identity. Yun Xiong was extremely excited. Although the Overlord's mansion had a 2-striped dosha, a strong person of this level would not personally search everywhere. Therefore, she was very safe now. As long as she changed her identity, she could continue to lurk in the Black Cloud territory and look for an opportunity to take revenge. On the other side, Jiang Xi returned to Xiao Lin's team. He had only left for 3 minutes. The speed of killing people and giving treasures was very fast. On the contrary, it took the most time for Yun Xiong to input the Dao pattern mystic technique into the Jade Scroll. Brother Jiang, you actually took so long to pee, Xiao Lin said. You rascal, if you don't know how to speak, don't speak nonsense. Lian who slapped his head. Jiang Xi smiled. It's fine. His spirit sense could cover a radius of 1,000 kilometers. When he discovered Yun Xiong's situation, he did not intend to make a move. After all, with such a large area, there were many people who encountered danger. It was impossible for him to save someone when he saw them in danger. He only decided to make a move after hearing about the Dao pattern mystic technique. Then, he used the excuse of peeing and left for a while. After that, Xiao Lin continued to ask Jiang Xi about his experience of wandering around curiously. Jiang Xi, on the other hand, made up some things. The 4 youths also listened with great interest. The 4 people in Xiao Lin's team stayed in the forest for another day and hunted more than 10 level 3 savage beasts before embarking on their return journey. As for the girl, Yun Xiong, Jiang Xi's spirit sense discovered that after she completely refined the imposter's mask, she changed her face and left first. During that period, Jiang Xi did not make a move again. Therefore, in Xiao Lin's eyes, Jiang Xi was really an ordinary adventurer. On the way back, Jiang Xi continued to chat casually with them and obtained a lot of useful information. However, They had only traveled for 3 hours when there was a big movement in front of them. Rumble. The earth trembled slightly as if there were 10,000 horses galloping. Xiao Lin, Lian Hu, and the others immediately became vigilant. Soon, a group of more than 100 black-clothed people appeared from the direction of the Black Cloud territory. They rode on powerful tamed savage beasts and rushed toward the 100,000 mountains aggressively. They brushed past Jiang Xi and the others and did not stop. It's the dark operation of the Lord's mansion. Why are there so many of them? And the leader seems to be a level 9 warrior. Did something big happen? Lian Hu lowered his voice and said in surprise. Dark operation. Xiao Lin and the other 2 young warriors also exclaimed. Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that there was something similar to life slips in the Do-Pattern continent. Otherwise, the Lord's mansion would not have received the news of their deaths so quickly. After the group of black-clothed people went far away, the youths dared to speak louder. Legend has it that the dark operation of the Lord's mansion committed all kinds of crimes. Once the tens of thousands of tribes under the Black Cloud territory offended them, the entire tribe would be annihilated. At least, the ruling family of the tribe would be exterminated. At worst, the entire tribe would be slaughtered, one of the youths said. Rumor has it that 10 years ago, the Yun family of the Green Flame tribe was exterminated in this way. Another youth nodded in agreement. Don't talk nonsense. Lian Hu glared at them. Xiao Lin remained silent at that moment. He thought of Yun Xiong. However, he knew that Yun Xiong was not a member of the Yun family of the Green Flame tribe. After all, the Black Cloud Academy was in the Black Cloud territory. If there was a problem with Yun Xiong's identity, it would have been found out by the dark operation. At that moment, Lian Hu looked at Jiang Xi quietly. He always felt that this black-haired youth was strange. However, how could his actions be hidden from Jiang Xi? Jiang Xi did not care. This vigilant youth could not have discovered his strength. Then, they continued to walk in the direction of the Black Cloud territory. After seeing the dark operation of the Lord's mansion, the youth sped up and wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. After another half a day, the group of black-clothed people rode on savage beasts and returned from the back. Stop! A loud shout rang out. The group of black-clothed people quickly stopped them. The 4 youths immediately became nervous. Jiang Xi did not move. They could not tell if he was nervous or not. Chapter 376. A black-clothed man came before Jiang Xi and the 4 youths. He held a portrait in his hand and shouted, "Have you seen this person?" It was Yun Xiong in the portrait. Yun Xiong. The other 2 youths cried out in surprise. On the other hand, Xiao Lin and Lian Hu tried their best to remain calm. Whoosh! The rank 9 warrior in the lead appeared in front of them in an instant. Where did she go? This person's gaze was gloomy, as if he had slaughtered countless lives. I don't know, the 2 youths said in trembling voices, their bodies trembling. Sir, we are all students of Black Cloud Academy. We saw her before coming to the 100,000 mountains. Lian Hu mustered up his courage and said, "Bring them all back and search their souls for interrogation." The rank 9 warrior said expressionlessly. Xiao Lin, Lian Hu, and the other 3 immediately panicked. However, at that moment, a cold shout sounded in the rank 9 warrior's ears. "Get lost." The rank 9 warrior's expression changed drastically and he turned to leave. "Retreat." The other black-clothed men who were about to capture them were stunned for a moment, but they obeyed the order and retreated with their leader. Rumble. More than 100 black-clothed men rode their savage beasts and quickly left, not daring to stay any longer. That level 9 martial artist was extremely shocked. What a powerful spiritual sense. Is it a 2-striped Do master? Fortunately, the other party didn't have any killing intent. Otherwise, the other party would have shattered my soul. Who is it? It's definitely not those 4 youths. The aura of that young man can be confirmed to be a rank 9 warrior. It can't be him either. Could it be the dean of Black Cloud Academy? That old guy is also a 2-striped Do master. Did he order me to retreat because I wanted to capture his student? Or perhaps, it's a passing 2-striped Do master. He thought a lot, but there was no definite answer. This matter must be reported to the Lord as soon as possible. The people from the dark department came quickly and left quickly. Xiao Lin, Lian Hu, and the other two youths were dumbfounded by this scene. What happened? Jiang Xi sighed in his heart. As expected, he could not easily make a move. Previously, for the Dao pattern mystic technique, he made a move once, and the consequences came. However, he was not a cold-blooded person. He could not watch Xiao Lin be taken away by these people. Therefore, he secretly roared and used his spiritual sense to intimidate them. After the people from the dark operation of the Lord's mansion had left, Lian Hu and the other two youths breathed a sigh of relief. They were full of doubts about the sudden departure of the dark group. At the same time, he was also guessing why Yun Xiong was targeted by the dark unit. Only Xiao Lin was in low spirits. He was worried about Yun Xiong's safety. Being targeted by the dark unit, it was hard to have a good ending. Jiang Xi and the four youths continued onward. Nothing unexpected happened for the rest of the journey. When Xiao Lin, Lian Hu, and the other three youths saw the huge city of Black Cloud territory, they were completely relieved. Big brother Jiang, let's go to the Black Cloud Academy and have some fun. Our academy is one of the places with the best scenery in the Black Cloud territory. Xiao Lin regained his smile, but observant people could still see the worry in his heart. Maybe next time. I still have something to do. Jiang Xi shook his head. That works too. Xiao Lin did not insist. After entering the city, Jiang Xi separated from them and quickly disappeared into the endless stream of people. Seeing Jiang Xi's figure disappear, Lian Hu let the other two youths return to the Black Cloud Academy first. He pulled Xiao Lin to a secluded place. Xiao Lin, don't you think Big Brother Jiang is very suspicious? Lian Hu asked in a low voice. I don't think so. Isn't Big Brother Jiang just an ordinary adventurer? Xiao Lin's face was full of doubts. You pig head. Have you ever seen an ordinary adventurer brave enough to go to the 100,000 mountains? Along the way, I've been secretly observing him. No matter what danger he encountered, his expression did not change. It was as if he did not care at all. Think about it. What was he doing when we were hunting the savage beasts? Xiao Lin's face changed and he recalled carefully. It seemed to be true. When they were fighting with the savage beasts, Big Brother Jiang was not afraid or excited. He was very calm. It was as if he was a detached observer, observing everything. Also, why did the dark operation of the Lord's mansion suddenly retreat? Lian Hu asked in a low voice. Could it be that Big Brother Jiang secretly scared them away? Xiao Lin's eyes widened. These are just my guesses. Lian Hu nodded. I suspect that Big Brother Jiang is very likely a one-striped doja. This kind of powerhouse can already dominate a region in the Black Cloud territory. So I suggest that you quickly tell Grandfather Xiao about this matter. If anything happens in the future, you can be prepared in advance. Xiao Lin's expression became serious. In the crowd not far away, Jiang Xi smiled and then disappeared. This little guy is quite vigilant. He was not afraid of being discovered as long as others did not find out that he was an alien. In terms of strength, a one-striped doja was at the peak of the golden core stage, a two-striped dosha was at the nascent soul stage, a three-striped do spirit was at the primordial soul stage, and a four-striped dozong was at the unification stage. He had the confidence to deal with anyone other than the four-striped dozong. The city of the Black Cloud territory was very large and could be called a giant city. Therefore, after Jiang Xi sneaked in, he was like a drop of water sinking into the sea, inconspicuous. He bought a quiet house and stayed there for the time being. Of course, the money was obtained from the warriors of the Lord's mansion when he saved Yun Xiong. Rank 8 warriors were still very rich. After staying, he did not immediately go out to inquire about anything. He took out the Dao pattern secret technique he obtained from Yun Xiong and looked at it seriously. The cultivation method is different from the original universe. What is the difference? After looking at it for a moment, Jiang Xi had the answer. The cultivators of the Dao pattern continent also cultivated Dao techniques. The difference was, after the cultivators of the original universe successfully comprehended Tao techniques, the Tao techniques were not in their bodies. Only during battle would they use their spiritual consciousness to connect with heaven and earth and use various Tao techniques to attack. The cultivators of the Tao pattern continent, on the other hand, integrated Tao techniques into their bodies and turned them into Tao patterns to strengthen their bodies and use their bodies to fight. Ignoring physical data such as strength, speed, and toughness, just looking at physical strength, the physical strength of a one-striped doja, perfected golden core, was equivalent to a low-grade spirit weapon at most. The physical strength of a two-striped do master, nascent soul, was equivalent to a middle-grade spirit weapon at most. The physical strength of a three-striped do spirit, essence soul, was equivalent to a high-grade spirit weapon at most. The physical strength of a four-striped do grandmaster, unification path, was equivalent to a supreme-grade spirit weapon at most. With such a strong body, it's no wonder the way of refining weapons here is so backward. Very few people use spirit weapons. Jiang Xi shook his head. That was not the main point. If that's the case, the Tao pattern secret technique is a method of refining the body. However, it is different from conventional martial arts. It uses Tao techniques to refine the body. No wonder Xiao Lin, Lian Hu, and the other youths have such strong physiques. It turns out that they are all on the path of refining the body. However, there is still a problem. After the Tao technique reaches the level of the way of heaven and earth, even the body of an essence soul would find it difficult to withstand the power of heaven and earth. Not to mention the power of the great path and heavenly path. If one dares to integrate it into the body, they are definitely courting death. If this problem is not solved, it will be very difficult to cultivate this method of refining the body to a high level. Chapter 377. If I don't solve the problem of my body withstanding the Tao arts, then this cultivation technique is useless. With this question in mind, Jiang Xi continued to read. After a while, he finished reading the entire Tao pattern mystic technique. His eyes lit up as he thought to himself, as expected. The cultivation civilization of the Tao tattoo continent had been passed down for many eras. If he could think of the problem, the cultivators here would definitely be able to think of it as well and would have a solution to it. This Tao pattern mystic technique's description was, after cultivating to a one-pattern Do warrior, if you want to progress further, you will need to fuse with a Tao pattern blood crystal if you don't have any special physical talents. Only by increasing the limits of your body can you withstand stronger Tao arts and cultivate to a higher level. The Tao pattern blood crystal is a treasure left behind by the gods and is extremely precious. Legend has it that only the 5 major temples possess the Tao pattern blood crystal. Other than the temple that will give the various main cities and territories some Tao pattern blood crystals, other Tao pattern cultivators would want to obtain this item. One must have a great contribution to apply to the 5 major temples. In addition, fusing with the Tao pattern blood crystal not only requires a strong physique, but also an extremely strong willpower. If one doesn't have a strong willpower, no matter how strong their body is, it will be difficult for them to fuse with more Tao pattern blood crystals. After reading this, Jiang Xi closed his eyes and sorted out the information seriously. The 5 major temples are the Gold Pattern, Wood Pattern, Water Pattern, Fire Pattern, and Earth Pattern Temple. They correspond to the 5 elemental Tao arts. No wonder the Tao tattoo continent views Tao arts that aren't of the 5 elements as heresy. There might be some secrets behind this. After muttering to himself for a while, Jiang Xi opened the experience panel again. After checking the changes on the panel, he smiled. Mystic Technique, Tao Fusion Technique, 3 Tao Fusion Techniques, 3 Tao Fusion Techniques, 3 Tao Fusion Techniques, 3 Tao Fusion Techniques, Tao Pattern Technique, none, 13 million. In the Mystic Technique column, there was a new item, Tao Pattern Technique. However, the low-grade impersonator's mask is actually exchanged for such a great reward. Jiang Xi suddenly thought of something and frowned slightly. A mystic technique that was recognized by the experience panel was naturally not an ordinary item. Ever since he knew about the existence of karma divination, he had started to pay attention to karma. He had taken advantage of others today, and he might have to pay them back in the future. Of course, From another point of view, he had saved Yun Xiong's life. In exchange for the Dao pattern mystic technique, it should be an equivalent exchange. He just didn't know if this was how karma was calculated. If you see him in the future, make it up to him. Jiang Xi put this matter to the bottom of his heart for the time being. He turned his attention back to the new secret technique, the Dao pattern technique. Since the level and experience points are displayed, I can directly use experience points to level up. Let's try leveling up first. Jiang Xi was filled with anticipation. He still allowed his clone on Earth's first moon to refine the spiritual fruits and increase his Dao pattern ART's level and experience. 3 million experience points required the same amount of spiritual energy. However, now that his avatar was at the full circle of the nascent soul stage, the efficiency of refining spiritual fruits was very high. In just half a day, the upgrade was completed. In that instant, Jiang Xi felt that both his main body and his avatar were changing at the same time. The nascent soul in his lower dantian, a wisp of Li fire in his left hand, a wisp of gale in his right hand, and a small sword in his torso each separated a Dao intent. The 3 Dao intents spiraled and condensed into one, turning into a tricolored Dao pattern halo that merged into his body. Immediately after, the various physical attributes of his body, such as strength, speed, defense, toughness, and so on, began to undergo drastic changes and continue to strengthen. After a moment, the changes ended. Jiang Xi opened his eyes and gently clenched his fist. Puff, he didn't use any strength at all, but the air produced a muffled sound. Such strong strength, and my defense has also increased. Is this the physical attributes of a low-grade spiritual artifact? No, it's even stronger than a low-grade spiritual artifact. This is a Dao pattern technique that has fused 3 Dao arts. Jiang Xi's figure flickered in this quiet house, leaving behind after-images as if it was his real body. This was a characteristic of speed that had reached a certain limit, and the after-images were like a body. Moreover, he didn't use any spiritual power in this move, but only relied on his physical strength and speed. The sword intent has brought a strong attacking power to the body. At the same time, the explosive power of the body has increased, and it is also lighter than before. It has the characteristics of the true meaning of Li fire and gale. In terms of speed alone, this state is already comparable to 10% of my complete nascent soul stage speed. If I add spiritual power and gale Dao, my speed will be even faster. After experimenting, Jiang Xi came to a conclusion. The Dao pattern technique is more suitable for close combat. In terms of Dao art attacks, the cultivators of the original universe are stronger. In terms of physical strength, the cultivators of the Dao pattern continent have the advantage. Finally, Jiang Xi looked at the changes on the experience panel. Dao pattern technique, 130 million per pattern. His body was now the so-called one-pattern doja. My Dao art is at the level of the Dao of heaven and earth, but what merged into my body just now was the Dao intent that was separated from the Dao of heaven and earth. Therefore, it can continue to improve. After attaining 2-pattern, the strength of my body should be able to surpass a middle-grade spiritual artifact. The body of a middle-grade spiritual artifact was terrifying. First of all, a middle-grade spiritual artifact could not damage it at all. At the very least, a superior-grade spiritual artifact could cause him harm. And to truly damage his body, a supreme-grade spiritual artifact was the only way. With this thought in mind, Jiang Xi once again let his clone refine the spiritual fruit. The experience level of the Dao pattern technique increased rapidly. Soon, a day later, a problem arose. Before he could upgrade to 2-pattern, his body experienced a tearing pain. From the inside to the outside, tiny cracks appeared all over his body. It was as if cracks had appeared on glass. Is this the limit of the body's tolerance for Dao art? Jiang Xi frowned. The spiritual power of the complete nascent soul stage circulated, and those tiny cracks immediately disappeared. Then, he looked at the progress of the Dao pattern technique. Dao pattern technique, 50 million 30 million per pattern. If I only integrated 1 Dao art into my body, I might be able to directly upgrade to 2-pattern. But now that I have 3 Dao arts, I have reached my body's limit in advance. However, the benefits of integrating 3 Dao arts at the same time are also very obvious. Although I haven't reached 2 pattern, my current physical fitness is not much different from that of a middle-grade spiritual artifact. Jiang Xi carefully felt the changes in his body. Next, he tried many times to continue to upgrade the level of the Dao pattern technique. But every time, cracks would appear on his body. He understood that if he really forcibly upgraded it, there was a high chance that his body would collapse. The Dao pattern blood crystal can increase the limit of the body's tolerance for Dao arts. I can only do it through this thing. Jiang Xi pondered carefully. The problem was, where could he get it? Directly go to the 5 great temples to apply? What a joke. There were definitely tribulation transcender powerhouses there. He would be walking into a trap if he went there. Chapter 378. As night fell, the Black Cloud territory was still very lively. Jiang Xi was like an ordinary tourist, wandering around the city, enjoying the night view of different civilizations. But there was always darkness hidden under the prosperity. Along the way, he saw many pedestrians being taken away by the dark operation of the Overlord's mansion. Some were just ordinary people. They cried and said that they were innocent. But the men in black from the dark operation ignored them. They even knocked them out in front of their children and took them away. If anyone resisted, they would be killed directly. Blood would flow all over the ground. As for those passers-by, other than some fear, they had no other emotions. They were numb. After the men in black left, everything returned to normal and continued to be lively. The cultivation civilization is prosperous, and the rules have become simple. There are only 4 words left: the weak are prey to the strong. This thought appeared in Jiang Xi's mind. Then he shook his head. To the battle pattern continent, he was just a bystander. This had nothing to do with him. Until late at night, he stopped at a secluded place. A man in black appeared in front of him and said sternly, "Check your identity. Take out your identification. You're the one who delivered yourself to me." Jiang Xi smiled. The man in black was stunned. In the Black Cloud territory, when everyone saw the dark operation, other than fear, they had never seen such an arrogant ordinary person. Phew, before he could react, Jiang Xi was already in front of him. Soul search. Jiang Xi pressed his hand directly on the top of the man in black's head and used the soul search technique. In less than a breath, the man in black lost all signs of life. A wisp of Li fire fell. The man in black, who had the strength of a level 7 martial artist, turned into nothingness. Not even ashes were left behind. Jiang Xi was not soft-hearted. These people were originally ruthless officials. They did things cruelly and their hands were stained with blood. So be it if he killed them. It was just to create some value for him. Then, he returned to the secluded house as if nothing had happened. As expected, it's better to be simple and crude. He had thought for a long time but did not know where to find the Dao pattern blood crystal. But he found someone to search their soul and he had a clue: the 5 sacred palaces will occasionally bestow some Dao pattern blood crystals to these city lords and lords. According to the memories of this rank 7 warrior, the suzerain of the Black Cloud territory, Cheng Liang, is a 2-line dosha. He had once received the Dao pattern blood crystal from the Fire Pattern Temple. This was exactly the information Jiang Xi needed. Under normal circumstances, if you don't have any special physical talents, after becoming a 1-line doja, you will be able to become a 1-line doja. If he wants to improve again, he will need to borrow the power of the Dao pattern blood crystal. Therefore, Overlord Cheng Liang must have fused with a Dao pattern blood crystal. Most importantly, Overlord Cheng Liang had previously obtained a few Dao pattern blood crystals. Did he still have any left? This was an uncertain factor. The probability of that is very high. Since he has already reached the level of a 2-line dosha, he will definitely want to continue improving. As a feudal lord who rules over tens of thousands of tribes, his network is different from ordinary Dao pattern cultivators. He might have other ways to obtain the Dao pattern blood crystal. It's him. Jiang Xi quickly made a decision. However, we still have to be cautious. A 2-lined dosha wasn't a threat, but it was always right to be cautious. Through the soul search just now, he also obtained another piece of information. The atmosphere in the suzerain's mansion had been rather tense recently. An unknown two-lined dosha had appeared in the Black Cloud territory, so the entire suzerain's mansion was on high alert. There's no hurry. Let's wait a little longer. Jiang Ci was very patient. The next day, he was meditating in the courtyard when he suddenly opened his eyes. His spirit sense had been scattered around the courtyard and he noticed that someone had come to visit. He got up and went to open the door. He saw Xiao Lin and a burly old man. Jiang Ci felt the aura of a one-line dosha from the old man. No wonder he could find his residence. A one-line dosha had a very high status in the Black Cloud territory. It was not difficult to find his location. After the two of them entered, "Brother Jiang, this is my grandfather." Xiao Lin scratched his head and was a little embarrassed. "I am Xiao Yang." "Greetings, Lord Jiang." Xiao Yang bowed solemnly. "Oh, you can see my strength." Jiang Ci was a little surprised. "My lord's aura is that of a two-line dosha. I can still see that," Xiao Yang said. Jiang Ci nodded lightly. He had been studying how to continue improving his Dao pattern technique for the past 2 days. Therefore, his aura had been unstable and he had not completely restrained it. "A two-line dosha. Brother Jiang, you are indeed not an ordinary adventurer. You deceived me so badly." Xiao Lin opened his eyes wide. "How can you say that? Impudent." Xiao Yang scolded him. Then, he smiled apologetically to Jiang Ci and said, "I've made a fool of myself. It's fine. This kind of young man has a good temperament." Jiang Ci shook his head. "I'm here to thank you. A few days ago, the suzerain's mansion's dark department was investigating the Yun family clansmen. If it wasn't for Lord Jiang secretly intervening, my grandson would have been taken away by the dark department." Xiao Yang stated his purpose for coming. Recently, several families that used to be related to the Yun family were exterminated by the dark department of the suzerain's mansion. Even 2 one-line doja were implicated and killed. The suzerain's mansion is powerful. Even if I'm a one-line doja, I'm not worth mentioning in front of them. If my grandson really fell into their hands, his life would be in danger. Xiao Yang finally sighed. He was also an old man. After Xiao Lin told him about Lian Hu's speculation that day, he concluded that Jiang Ci was not an ordinary person. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he knew that his guess was right. That day, it was indeed Jiang Ci who made a move and scared off the dark department of the suzerain's mansion. After Jiang Ci heard this, he suddenly understood. No wonder he saw so many men in black on the streets yesterday. It was to track down the young girl, Yun Xiong. He did not get this information from the previous soul search. "I've also heard about the Yun family recently. But why were they exterminated?" Jiang Ci pretended to be puzzled. "Lord Jiang has traveled around. It seems that you're not too clear about the situation in the Black Cloud territory." Xiao Yang laughed and then explained, "The Yun family's matter is also a secret. Not many people know about it and I happen to be one of them. The Green Flame tribe is one of the top tribes in the Black Cloud territory and the Yun family is the family that rules this tribe. 10 years ago, their ancestor returned from the fallen godland and became a two-line Do master. At that time, it caused a sensation because even in the entire Black Cloud territory, there were only a few two-line Do masters. Later, a traitor appeared in the Yun family and the secret of the Yun family ancestor was spread out. It turns out that he was able to become a two-line Do master because he obtained a powerful Dao pattern secret technique in the fallen godland. Lord should know that the Dao pattern secret technique that we cultivate can only cultivate one of the 5 elements Dao patterns into a Dao pattern to improve the realm of the body. However, the Dao pattern secret technique that the Yun family ancestor obtained can integrate multiple Dao patterns into the body at the same time. At this point, Xiao Yang's face could not help but reveal an excited and yearning expression. Chapter 379. A normal Dao pattern secret technique could only turn one of the 5 elements Dao patterns into a Dao pattern. However, The Dao pattern secret technique obtained by the Yun family ancestor could turn many of the 5 elements Dao patterns into Dao patterns. Jiangxi seemed to have understood something. This might be the reason why the Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique could be recognized by the experience panel. It could not only cultivate the 5 elements Dao patterns, but other Dao patterns could also be turned into Dao patterns. This was enough to prove the power of the secret technique. Xiao Yang continued, not long after the Yun family ancestor's secret was spread, the Lord's residents destroyed the Yun family. However, they did not obtain the Yun family ancestor's Dao pattern secret technique in the end. However, no one expected that a member of the Yun family actually escaped and hid in Black Cloud Academy, living under the nose of the Lord's residents. As far as I know, a few days ago, in order to capture the Yun family member, the dark operation of the Lord's residents killed 100,000 people. 1 level 8 martial artist and 5 level 7 martial artists died in the 100,000 mountains, but Yun Xiong went missing. That's why the Lord's residence has been so active recently. At this point, Xiao Yang looked at Jiang Xi meaningfully. This was because Jiang Xi was also in the 100,000 mountains at that time. With Jiang Xi's strength, he could easily do this. At the side, Xiao Lin's expression was gloomy. He was very worried about Yun Xiong. However, he also knew that with his current strength, he could not do anything at all. Jiang Xi was very indifferent to this old man's suspicion. So what if he was suspicious? After that, Jiang Xi did not continue on this topic. He was concerned about the fallen god's land that Xiao Yang mentioned just now. The Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique came from there. Then, he asked this question. Brother Jiang, you call yourself an adventurer, but you don't even know about the fallen god's land. That's the forbidden area of the entire Dao pattern continent. Xiao Lin was a little surprised. Child, don't talk nonsense. Xiao Yang hurriedly patted Xiao Lin's head. Jiang Xi smiled and shook his head. Of course I've heard of it, but I don't know the details. When he was searching souls earlier, he had obtained some information about the fallen god's land from the memories of the rank 7 warrior, but it was very brief. He only knew that the land of the fallen gods was located in the north of the battle pattern continent. It was separated from the Black Cloud territory by over 1 million territories. If one didn't become a Dao pattern cultivator, it would be hard for them to achieve this in their lifetime. This was also related to the fact that the Dao of weapon refinement in the Dao tattoo continent was underdeveloped. It was very rare to see spirit artifacts like flying boats. Moreover, there was no inheritance of array formations here, so there was no teleportation array. This was something that he had been reminded of when he had accepted the mission. It was forbidden to use formations on the Dao tattoo continent. Therefore, it was very difficult to cross such a long distance just by flying. On the other side, after Xiao Yang finished lecturing his grandson, he smiled at Jiang Xi and said, Sir, you are focused on cultivation. It is normal that you do not know about this. This was because the specific information about the fallen godland was considered a secret in the Dao tattoo continent. Many people only knew that it was a forbidden area, but they didn't know the actual situation inside. My Xiao clan's ancestor once cultivated there, so I happen to know a little about it. This old man will be bold enough to show it off in front of Sir. Xiao Yang's tone was respectful. In his opinion, with Jiang Xi's strength, he would definitely know about the situation in the fallen godland. This was because many 2-mark Dao masters would choose to cultivate in the fallen godland after reaching a bottleneck in their cultivation. Now that Jiang Xi asked him this question, perhaps he just wanted to know more from him. It's fine. You can continue. Jiang Xi nodded. Therefore, Xiao Yang organized his thoughts and said, Sir, you should have heard of the extraterritorial demon race, right? Jiang Xi didn't bat an eyelid. Extraterritorial demon race? I am one of them. Xiao Yang smiled and said, It is said that it is very difficult for the extraterritorial demon race to descend on our continent. This is because in the endless void, there is a heaven and earth boundary set up by the gods. Countless years ago, the extraterritorial demon race paid a huge price to descend on the Dao tattoo continent. They wanted to take over our world. At that time, the the gods gathered and engaged in an earth-shattering war with the extraterritorial demon race. It is said that 10% of the Do Tattoo continent was shattered. In the end, we paid a terrible price to obtain victory and drive the extraterritorial demon race out. Since then, the extraterritorial demon race has not dared to invade us again. And the battlefield left behind by that war is the current fallen god land. Xiao Yang sighed. Beside him, the young Xiao Lin felt a sense of yearning. The War of the Gods was a legend of the ancient mythological era. Jiang Xi pretended to be surprised. It seemed that the strong people of the Do Tattoo continent had chosen to conceal their history. The War of the Gods. It was probably a purge of the Do Tattoo continent when the Purple Heaven sect was cleaning up the Third Heaven world. As for the talk of defeating the extraterritorial demon race, it was a little exaggerated. Any perfected lord from Purple Heaven sect would be able to suppress this mainland. What is so special about the fallen godland? Jiang Xi asked again. It is filled with evil aura that can affect one's mind. If one's will is not strong enough, they will lose their mind and become crazy after entering the fallen godland, Xiao Yang said solemnly. Jiang Xi could understand this point. After the death of an immortal Dao strong person, their Dao aura would not dissipate. In addition to the resentment, anger, and other negative emotions before death, it could indeed form a strong evil aura. Sir, since you are a two-mark dosha, you should know that fusing with the Dao pattern blood crystal requires not only a strong body, but also an extremely strong will, Xiao Yang said. Jiang Xi nodded. The Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique had mentioned this point. Although the fallen godland is extremely dangerous, it is also an excellent place to train one's will. Some strong Dao pattern cultivators would go to the fallen godland to train their will in order to fuse with more Dao pattern blood crystals. It is not only these strong people. For countless years, countless ordinary cultivators have risked their lives to enter the fallen godland. This is because if they are lucky, they can obtain the Dharma treasures and cultivation methods left behind by the gods. Take the Yun family's ancestor for example. He was such a lucky person. Unfortunately, he did not keep his luck and instead became a disaster. Xiao Yang sighed in the end. Jiang Xi was silent. The strong preyed on the weak everywhere. Next, Xiao Yang chatted with Jiang Xi about some other details. He also asked Jiang Xi about his purpose in coming to the Black Cloud territory. Jiang Xi, of course, said that he wanted to travel around and see different sceneries. These words made Xiao Lin extremely envious. After the grandfather and grandson pair left, Jiang Xi felt that he had gained a lot. This was because the mission introduction did not mention the fallen godland. He guessed that the gods should be existences in the tribulation transcendent realm. Since it was the place where many tribulation transcendent realm powerhouses had fallen, there should be good things. The Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique came from there. If I need to train my will in the future, I can consider going there. However, right now, the most important thing was to find a way to obtain the Dao pattern blood crystal. After another half a month, Jiang Xi quietly left the quiet courtyard. At the same time, he erased all traces of himself. Chapter 380. The Lord's Mansion of the Black Cloud Territory was located in the central area of the Black Cloud Territory. It occupied a large area, like a city within a city. At this time, in a gloomy prison of the Lord's Mansion, there was a row of warriors and ordinary people kneeling. They had different expressions: anger, despair, confusion, helplessness, and many were cursing. A team of Dark Unit warriors above level 7 were indifferently searching their souls. Soon, the prison fell into a dead silence. Everyone had died because of the soul search. The one in charge of this prison was a one-armed level 9 warrior. He said coldly, "No? Next batch." There were thousands of people in each batch. With their speed of soul searching, they could search tens of thousands of people in an hour. When night fell, the one-armed level 9 warrior came to Lord Chengliang's residence and reported the results of the day's soul searching. Lord Chengliang was a two-striped Do master, the top warrior of the Black Cloud territory. After listening to the work report, his slightly feminine face frowned slightly. How many families and forces are left that are related to the Yun family? 95 families, 134 forces, a total of 81 million people. Now there are 6 million people left who have not been soul-searched. The one-armed level 9 warrior did a good job. That remnant of the Yun family could hide under my nose for 10 years. There must be someone who helped her. Continue, leave no one alive. Cheng Liang said slowly. The lives of so many people were like grass in his eyes. As long as he could find the Yun family's Dao pattern secret technique, even if he killed 1 or 200 million, it was worth it. That unknown two-striped Do master, are there any clues? Cheng Liang asked again. No. This has to be done in secret. The remnant of the Yun family is very likely to be saved by this person. Once you find out about him, inform me immediately. Cheng Liang urged. Yes. At this time, a voice came from outside the door. Lord, the daughter of the Qiao family has been sent as requested. Cheng Liang's feminine face showed an anxious smile. He said to the one-armed level 9 warrior, you can leave first. Whoosh! Suddenly, a breeze blew and a young man in black armor appeared in front of the two. It was Jiang Ci Wat. The one-armed level 9 warrior didn't have time to shout. Poochie, with a flash of sword light, the level 9 warrior comparable to the late gold core stage was cut into two. How dare you? Looks like it's you. Cheng Liang punched out. He was a 2-mark dosha, and his body was comparable to a middle-grade spirit weapon. Cheng Liang was confident that even a 2-lined dosha of the same level would not dare to receive his punch head-on. Resist. Jiang Ci smiled. He reached out and grabbed the man's neck as if he was grabbing a chicken. Kai. At the same time, the sword pierced through his opponent's dantian, crippling his cultivation. His body was comparable to a middle-grade spiritual weapon. The sword in his hand was a supreme-grade spirit weapon. After that, he didn't stop. His figure flashed and disappeared. Boom. Boom. 2 loud sounds rang out. Only then did the 2 one-striped doja in charge of the guards rush over. Seeing the corpse on the ground, their expressions changed. Sir Lord is gone. Whoosh. In the next moment, 2 more figures appeared. One of them was a man in silver armor who looked very similar to Cheng Liang. The other person was a white-robed young man. Greetings, General. The 2 one-striped fighters hurriedly saluted the silver-armored man. It's the aura of a 2-line dosha, the white-robed young man said. Chase. The silver-armored man shouted in a low voice, his face full of anger. The 2 of them rushed into the sky. The 2 one-striped doja were left behind, extremely shocked. General is still in the Black Cloud territory. Didn't he say that he was going to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate? He probably hasn't set off yet. If I'm not wrong, the white-robed young man is the priest of the Fire Rune Temple. He's here to pick up the general. The silver-armored man and the white-robed young man exuded a powerful aura as they searched the entire Black Cloud territory. However, after searching for a while, they didn't find anything. Brother Yang, I'm really sorry. I didn't expect this to happen. It seems that I can't go to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate for the time being. The silver-armored man's face was very ugly. It was Sir Yin Tuor who helped you to go to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate. I can wait for a while. The most important thing now is to find your brother. The white-robed young man said. And this murderer is too arrogant. Even if the temple knows that you are wasting time, they won't say anything. He added. Thank you. The silver-armored man's face was tense. Now that his brother was captured by an unknown Dao pattern cultivator and he didn't know whether he was dead or alive, he was in a bad mood. The opportunity to cultivate in the Fire Rune Temple was fought for by his master, Sir Yin Tuor. Unless it was a last resort, he naturally didn't want to give up. The white-robed priest's words made him heave a sigh of relief. When the 2 of them were searching just now, they didn't hide their powerful aura. Many of the Dao pattern cultivators in the Black Cloud territory were stunned by their auras. That's the Lord's brother, Cheng Kai? Didn't he already go to the Fire Rune Temple to cultivate? The other person seems to be the white-robed priest of the temple. In a mansion, Xiao Yang was very surprised. The white-robed priest was a three-striped doling spirit powerhouse and was extremely powerful. Just what had happened to make these two experts so furious? For some reason, Jiang Xi's figure suddenly appeared in his mind. At this time, above the clouds that shrouded the battle-rune continent, outside the array barrier, a flying boat quietly stopped in the starry sky. My cultivation, you actually crippled my cultivation. Cheng Liang was shocked and furious. Then, he saw the surrounding environment clearly. It was actually in the starry sky. He looked at Jiang Xi in shock. Outside the barrier, you are an extraterritorial demon. Jiang Xi smiled and didn't talk nonsense with him. He pressed his hand on the top of Cheng Liang's head. Soul search. A moment later, the smile on Jiang Xi's face disappeared. As expected, the strength of the Lord's mansion is not as simple as it seems. Just now, when he was in the Lord's mansion, he caught Cheng Liang with his sharp intuition. He sensed a dangerous smell. So he hurriedly left and flew directly outside the battle-rune continent's barrier. From Cheng Liang's memory, he learned that there was a three-striped doling spirit general in the Lord's mansion, and this general was Cheng Liang's brother. However, a three-striped doling spirit is only equivalent to a primordial spirit cultivator. I'm not afraid of a real fight. Where did the danger come from? Jiang Xi frowned and pondered, then shook his head. In short, this operation was still a success. Then, he took Cheng Liang's storage magic treasure. Although the battle-rune continent's Qi refinement Dao was backward, there were still storage magic treasures. As a lord, it wasn't surprising that Cheng Liang had a storage magic treasure. After Jiang Xi simply refined the storage magic treasure, he took out a blood-red crystal that was only the size of a fingernail. After seeing this item, a strong desire appeared in his body. My luck is not bad. He really has extra Dao pattern blood crystals on him. According to Cheng Liang's memory, his brother Cheng Kai should also have a Dao pattern blood crystal on him. Chapter 381. Jiang Xi shook his head and chuckled. He put aside the idea of killing and robbing for now. It was not the time to think about this. He had to improve his strength first. After that, he did not enter the battle pattern continent. The flying boat continued to stop in the starry sky. He grabbed the Dao pattern blood crystal and began to refine it. What's so magical about this item? My body has a strong desire just by looking at it. With this thought in mind, Jiang Xi's spiritual consciousness touched the fingernail-sized blood-red crystal. Boom! His head felt like it had exploded. A very strong chaotic will surged into his mind and attacked his consciousness. With such a strong chaotic intent, the spiritual consciousness of a golden core cultivator would have collapsed immediately. Jiang Xi's expression changed slightly. Of course, he suppressed it easily. Other than the spiritual consciousness of a perfected nascent soul cultivator, there was another reason. There was an image of self-visualization in his mind. Just now, before he could even use his spiritual sense, the image of Guanji had automatically emitted a golden light to suppress the chaotic will. I didn't expect the peacock visualization to be useful here. Jiang Xi was surprised. He had obtained this visualization technique on Earth. It was an inheritance from the Buddhist ruins on Earth. Daoist Ge had reminded him not to expose the peacock visualization technique easily. Therefore, he had never used the image of self-visualization in his mind for a long time. However, he did not stop cultivating the image of self-visualization because it was the core of his spiritual consciousness. Every time his cultivation level increased, the image of self-visualization would also strengthen. Is this chaotic intent an evil thought? Is that why the image of self-visualization suppressed it? Jiang Xi was puzzled. He quickly put this thought aside because the Dao pattern blood crystal had turned into liquid and seeped into his body like blood. The next moment, a circle of 3 colored Dao patterns appeared on his body and kept circling. The strange thing was that his body realm did not increase. However, he could feel that his body was undergoing some kind of deep change. It was as if he had formed a connection with the universe. In other words, his affinity with the heaven and earth Dao had increased. After a while, the deep change in his body ended. The circle of 3 colored Dao patterns merged back into Jiang Ci's body. You have successfully merged with the Dao pattern blood crystal. Experience plus 100 million. The prompt from the experience panel unexpectedly rang in Jiang Ci's mind. Jiang Ci was stunned. What was going on? Fusing with Dao pattern blood crystals can also increase experience points. Moreover, he had added so much EXP in one go. This was something he had never experienced before. This item is truly miraculous. No wonder the Purple Heaven sect listed the Dao pattern blood crystal as the mission objective. Jiang Ci calmed his astonished emotions and continued to try to increase the level of the Dao pattern art. Although he had expected this, he was still pleasantly surprised by the result. This time, there were no more cracks on his body. The limit of his Dao had increased. In just half a day, the upgrade was completed. This time, there was a change in the realm of his body. 2 3-colored Dao patterns appeared on Jiang Ci's body and merged with him. 2 lines dosha. Phew, Jiang Ci directly passed through the flying ship's array formation and floated in the starry sky. Then, he chose a meteorite fragment not far in front of him as his target and rushed over. Boom! The meteorite fragment with a diameter of nearly 1,000 kilometers was directly shattered. Very strong. Jiang Ci praised himself. It was indeed very strong. Just the strength of his body had surpassed a mid-grade spiritual artifact. In other aspects, such as strength, speed, defense, toughness, agility, and so on, there were huge changes. He looked at the experience points panel. Sad smiley Dao pattern technique, 2 lines, 1,300 million. My Dao technique is at the level of the Dao of heaven and earth. The 2 lines just now were formed from the Dao domain, so it can continue to be upgraded. It shouldn't be able to reach 3 lines, but the realm of my body will definitely increase a lot. 300 million EXP upgrade will take a lot of time this time. With this thought, Jiang Ci still used his clone on the first moon of Earth to refine the spiritual fruit. Time passed, and the entire Black Cloud territory was in a state of panic. Because Lord Cheng Liang's lifestone had shattered, the news of his death had spread throughout the Black Cloud territory. The Lord's younger brother, Black Cloud General Cheng Kai, had returned. He was furious. He slaughtered the remaining 6 million people related to the Yun family. Then, he mobilized all kinds of forces to find the murderer. However, after searching for half a month, there was no result. Cheng Kai didn't know the motive of the murderer to kill his brother. But he knew that after so many days, the possibility of finding the murderer was not high. Damn it! The anger in Cheng Kai's heart could not be quelled. In this generation of the Cheng family, there were only 2 brothers. Now that his brother was dead, and he had to go to the Fire Pattern Temple to cultivate. Then, the Black Cloud territory would have to be handed over. In another part of the Black Cloud territory, Xiao Yang passed by the house where Jiang Ci lived. After carefully probing, he found that there was still no one inside. The Lord is dead, and Lord Jiang has disappeared for half a month. Xiao Yang's heart was still filled with shock. He was 60% sure that Lord Jiang was the one who did this. It's a good death, a wonderful death. Lord Jiang has done a good deed. He lightly hummed a tune and strode away. Of course, he wouldn't say these guesses out loud. The Cheng brothers had done evil in the Black Cloud territory for many years and plundered countless cultivation resources. In the entire Black Cloud territory, whether it was an ordinary person or a Dao pattern cultivator, everyone hated the brothers. What Xiao Yang didn't notice was that on a tall building in the distance, Jiang Ci was leisurely drinking wine. His every move was under Jiang Ci's surveillance. This old man is quite alert. Jiang Ci smiled and shook his head. This was also related to the fact that he didn't deliberately hide his identity. Of course, he came back for the Dao pattern blood crystal. The day before yesterday, his body's tolerance for Dao had reached the limit again. Dao pattern technique, 2 patterns 178. 25,300 million. Looking at the progress, he was still far from a 3-pattern doling spirit. However, Jiang Ci was still very satisfied with the effect of the upgrade. This was because the Dao patterns on his body were cultivated from 3 Dao patterns. Although his body was still a 2-pattern doling master, it was similar to a 3-pattern doling spirit. Its strength was already equivalent to a high-grade spirit weapon. This time, even a supreme-grade spirit weapon could only cause slight damage to him. He had also tested it. He used the supreme-grade spirit weapon, killing Shadow Sword, to slash his body a few times. If he didn't use the power of Dao, he could only make a few cuts. Of course, this also depended on the level of the opponent. If a Dao integration stage expert used a supreme-grade spirit weapon, he would definitely be killed with one slash. The comparison just now was only applicable to opponents who were definitely not stronger than him. 2-pattern doling master, I have already completed the second goal of the mission. However, my body is still not strong enough. I need to continue improving, so I need more Dao pattern blood crystals. Chapter 382. Jiang Xi's target was naturally Cheng Liang's brother. After my body realm improved, the feeling of danger disappeared. However, Cheng Kai is a 3-striped fighting spirit, which is equivalent to a primordial soul stage cultivator. I still can't underestimate him. Up until now, Jiang Xi had never really fought with a cultivator who was not at the primordial soul stage. A 3-striped fighting spirit was not only equivalent to a primordial soul stage cultivator, but its body was also comparable to a high-grade spiritual weapon. Although he used a top-grade spiritual weapon, he did not have absolute confidence in breaking the defense of a 3-striped fighting spirit. Just as he compared before, an opponent of the same level could not break his defense with a top-grade spiritual weapon. If he were to break someone else's defense, it would be more or less the same. Moreover, he had once sensed a dangerous aura in the Lord's mansion. Intuition told Jiang Xi that the danger should not come from Cheng Kai. Therefore, he became more cautious this time. After returning to the battle pattern continent, Jiang Xi investigated the surroundings of the Lord's mansion for a long time before he decided to make a move. Late at night, Lord's mansion. General Cheng Kai exuded a tyrannical aura. In front of him was a ground full of corpses, emitting a strong smell of blood. Damn it! No matter how many people he killed, he could not vent the anger in his heart. Because the white-robed priest of the Fire Pattern Temple would not wait for him for too long, at most a month. Now, half a month had passed. If he could not find the murderer, he could only give up on revenge. The opportunity to cultivate in the Fire Pattern Temple was extremely precious. If he missed this opportunity, the next time would be 1,000 years later. What made Cheng Kai most angry was that he chose to cultivate in the Fire Pattern Temple. Not only did he give up revenge, but he also gave up the Black Cloud territory. Therefore, no matter what, this was a great loss for him. If I find you, I will destroy your soul. Cheng Kai's tyrannical aura surged. Swoosh. Suddenly, a sharp sword light broke through the darkness and stabbed directly at him. Taking the initiative to come to me? How arrogant. Cheng Kai shouted angrily. A mace appeared in his hand, and he smashed it towards the sword that had ambushed him. Clang. The sword and mace collided violently, producing a dazzling light. The powerful impact swept hundreds of kilometers, and the entire Black Cloud territory felt it. 2 figures, one in front and one behind, rushed out of the Lord's mansion and stood in the night sky. Cheng Kai's body emitted a fiery red Dao pattern. His aura was like a rainbow, and he looked like a god-fiend. On the other side was a black-haired youth. His body was emitting Dao patterns of 3 different colors. It was a little strange, but his aura wasn't any weaker than Cheng Kai's. Therefore, in the eyes of outsiders, he was also a 3-striped Do Ling. Someone attacked the monarch's mansion again? Who is it? Many Dao pattern cultivators saw the battle in the sky above the Lord's mansion. One-line Doge Xiaoyang's face was also filled with shock. Others might not recognize the black-haired youth, but he did. It really is Sir Jiang. He is actually a 3-striped Do Ling. At the edge of the Black Cloud territory, in an inconspicuous house. Yun Xiong, who had changed her appearance, also recognized the black-haired youth. Yes, benefactor. Could it be that Lord Cheng Liang was also killed by benefactor? Yun Xiong was filled with gratitude. That Cheng Kai is a three-striped doe spirit. Will public enemy be able to defeat him? She was also worried. At this moment, her expression changed. Not good. In the sky above the Lord's mansion, another white-robed youth appeared. His body also emitted a fiery red Dao pattern. It was the white-robed priest of the Fire Rune Shrine, three-striped doe ling experts. In the sky above the Lord's mansion. Other than the Fire Dao, there are two other unknown Dao techniques. So it is a heresy. When the white-robed priest saw the Dao pattern on Jiang Xi's body, his eyes were filled with coldness. Then he deserves to die. Cheng Kai's killing intent was boiling. Jiang Xi's expression also became serious. The appearance of the white-robed priest made him understand the source of the danger he sensed previously. The aura of this white-robed priest was very close to that of a four-striped doe zong. In other words, this was a Dao pattern cultivator at the peak of the primordial soul stay. However, when he searched Lord Cheng Liang's soul last time, he did not get any information about this white-robed priest. This was a hidden expert. Looks like I have to use all my strength. Jiang Xi was prepared to use Dao techniques to attack. Now, the Dao technique realm and the realm of his physical body were his strongest means. After making the decision, the Dao of heaven and earth instantly descended. The Dao of sword, the Dao of fire, and the Dao of gale. Dao fusion technique. After the Dao techniques fused together, the strange power covered his body and the sword. His aura changed in an instant. Cheng Kai and the white-robed priest's expression changed. However, they could not figure out what exactly happened to Jiang Xi. In fact, it was not their fault that they could not recognize him. The legend of the extraterritorial demon clan in the Battle Rune continent had been around for tens of thousands of years. Other than the true experts, many people had only heard of the extraterritorial demon clan but did not know what kind of methods they used. Therefore, the two of them did not recognize Jiang Xi's true identity and only thought that Jiang Xi was a heresy. No matter how much you change, you are still a three-striped doe ling. I don't believe you can become a four-striped doe zong. Cheng Kai and the white-robed priest attacked at the same time. Cheng Kai's mace was covered by the fiery red Dao pattern and suddenly became 10,000 feet long. Moreover, its weight seemed to have increased. Boom! The mace was like a towering mountain as it smashed towards Jiang Xi. The white-robed priest's body was like a rainbow and his fiery fist was like a meteor. He was also incomparably tyrannical as he approached Jiang Xi. My sword is different from before. Jiang Xi was very calm. Sword light flashed as he took the initiative to meet the attack. After cultivating the Dao pattern, his strength had increased further. Whoosh! The most obvious thing now was that his speed had increased by nearly half. He was even faster than the perfected primordial soul white-robed priest. In a battle between experts, if one's speed was faster, one would be able to seize the initiative. Therefore, Jiang Xi relied on his speed to dodge the attacks of the two. At the same time, his long sword approached Cheng Kai and the white-robed priest first. With the support of the Dao fusion technique, the supreme-grade spirit artifact Killer Shadow Sword directly cut through space and landed on Cheng Kai's body. My body is a superior-grade spirit artifact. You can't. Although Cheng Kai was shocked by Jiang Xi's speed, he was also very confident in his body. The next moment. Phut! He felt as if his body was missing something. Intense pain came. He was shocked to discover that his left hand was broken. What? Impossible. Cheng Kai's expression changed drastically. This was a superior-grade spirit artifact body. Cheng Kai, be careful. The white-robed priest's anxious voice sounded in his ear. Whoosh, a strong wind blew. A sword light once again cut through space and arrived in an instant. Cheng Kai was a three-striped battle spirit after all. His reaction was very fast. He held the mace with one hand and directly smashed it out. However, he missed this time. The sword light was like a bubble and suddenly dissipated. Kai, the sword light whistled and pierced through Cheng Kai's forehead. The power of the Dao pattern exploded, shattering his primordial spirit. Cheng Kai did not understand two things until he died. Why was it that when the club smashed down, It was only an illusion. Why was his defense so weak? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.